Yes, people. Yes, yes. Big up your. How's it going,
Yeah,
man?
yeah, it's been going good. You haven't been on for a while, but like now I'm back, so yeah, it'd be cool to talk about what happened on Sunday.
Nice, nice, nice. And also, I've got a special guest in Mr. Box Office. How are you doing, Alex? You good?
Same Spurs, different day, like they say. It's like Dan the Hotspur Hood says every single time. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's one of those days where it's end of the summer. International week. It's actually bliss for me when it's not Tottenham, to be honest with you, because it's like the same old Tottenham, like they're saying it. But it'll be good to get into it, even though I've said it on Mr. Box Office TV already. You know what I mean? So let's get into it. We got everybody in the panel, and that's it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, man. First of all, as well, guys, big up to the comments. Bit of technical issues, man. Sorry about that. But we're here. We move, man. But yeah, guys, I'm just gonna ask you straight off the bat: who's at fault for Brighton's loss? Is it Ange Postecoglou or is it the players down tools in? And I want to start with Oren.
um,
Oh,
Mixture of both. Yeah,
before you answer,
yeah.
because I said to John backstage, I'll keep it real. I said, look, today we're not gonna do 50% players, 50%.
Okay, okay.
We're not gonna do that. If you feel like the core reason was
All
the
right.
managers being too stubborn, or if you think the players were being nonchalant and they were being lazy, or let's go
Mhm.
with like the 60%. Give me your 60%, or even if it's 50.1%. I want to hear what that is.
Well,
I want to hear what that
all
sounds
right. Yeah, I'd have to say the players, but not all the players. I think it was like mostly, from my perspective, was two. Um, Destiny Dogi, making that hash clearance led to the first goal. Romero completely switching off, um, letting Welbeck run behind him. And the thing is, watching the match, even though Spurs were 2-0 up, I just thought this was too easy. There's going to be complacence. If Brighton get a goal in the first half, or in the second half, if they score first, I could see them getting a second one and a third, because we've all seen it. We've all watched football games where it's been easy in the first half for teams, and then the other team kick in the gear, and it's hard for that team to then motivate themselves. And I think that's what happened. We, being Spurs fans, we've all been on the good side of Spurs coming back to grabbing a victory. So watching this one was thinking, yeah, it happens, and I think the players were just in shell shock. They didn't know what to do, and it was almost, it's the same typical way. Like, we've seen it before. In order to beat Spurs, you have to make them play as individuals. And as soon as Brighton start doing that, that's when Spurs start falling apart. Brighton, what was it, the winger Momento? Or, I can't pronounce his name, but he tortured Pearl and Romero. Like, and if you like watching the game, I noticed that Welbeck was always on Romero, constantly on him. And basically Romero got fatigued and he started making errors. And we all know we have to admit now as Spurs fans, when Romero's fatigued, he started making mistakes, and he's done it all season. And I think Destiny as well, like the scuff clearance, and he was just like, okay, we make a mistake, go on. But then he just got tortured again. So yeah, I couldn't say all the players. I think Brighton was just very smart and targeted 3 players in the back line, and it worked for them. So yeah, I would say it's more down to the players than what Angie did or didn't do, because
Okay,
the players on the pitch after all, they're the ones who have to take responsibility.
cool.
Um,
So you're saying basically down to Romero, lapse in concentration. You're saying
yeah,
down to Doggy for whatever
yeah.
reason, making mistakes. So I like it's basically it's a one-off. Box office. What are you telling me, man? Who's at fault here? Players or Ange? Which one? A or B?
I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna be uh easy about it. It's Ange Postecoglou. I've got to be honest, because for me, um, those players are his responsibility. He's the one that said that he needed the players that he had, and like I say, they're not good enough. They're not good enough at all. I said that I had problems with this team. I don't like this team. Yeah, they look very good in the first half. They did look very good. Right, I understand now why he's got Solanke in, but what did he do in the second half? What did Johnson do? Yeah, what did Bentacore do? You know what I mean? What did Kulu do? You know, what did all those players do? You know, they shrunk. They shrunk because they've got no composure. When things go wrong, they lose it. I saw it against Leicester. I saw it against Arsenal. I saw it against Newcastle. And like I said before, it's his fault with the wingers. It's his fault for the wingers. Yeah, I've said already. I don't see any arrogance in that team whatsoever. The only one's got it is Romero and maybe Vicario, and that's it. You know what I mean? And no leaders in that team, and that is down to Ange Postecoglou. I'm sorry, he backed this team. He backed those youngsters, the generational talents that he doesn't even use, Archie Gray and Berval, who he don't trust because he don't put them on in major games. He don't trust them. So yeah, the players are at fault as well but at the end of the day, it's his choice to get those youngsters in. It was his choice to get Timo Werner in, right? It's his choice that he didn't get a central defender in to compete with Van der Ven and Romero. It's his choice he didn't get an arrogant striker to actually compete with these strikers that we've got. It was his choice he didn't get a proper winger in. It's his choice he didn't get a number 6 in, like a guy that is actually gonna be composed, like a Matt O'Reilly, a Locatelli, a good one. Someone that's just gonna put his foot on the ball and say, "Slow it down, lads," and that's it. It's his choice, and that's it. So I'm sorry. Yeah, the players are mostly at fault as well. But if you want to ask me who's really at fault, it's Ange Postecoglou. Sorry,
The
that's all
sounds
I
of
can
it, by
say.
the sounds of it, because you were talking about leaders on the pitch, it did sound like it was the players that you're going for rather than Ange. Why, like, just to stay on that topic, why in particular is it Ange? You're saying because
Tactics as well, but bro, he didn't make a substitution because he can't trust the players that he's got. He doesn't trust most of those players on the sub bench. That's it, simple. When it goes right, it's absolutely fine. But again, when things go wrong, and this is why we're not going to win a trophy this season, yeah, because you're going to have games where teams are going to figure you out, and you got to try and compete. You see what I'm saying? You have to try and get back into the game, yeah, because it's like chess sometimes, in certain games. Yeah, Arsenal understand that now because I see the same thing that I saw with Manchester United with Alex Ferguson. Saw the same thing with Chelsea. Saw the same thing with Man City. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you need to know play chess with these managers. You know what I mean? The top managers. Europe, you'll see it. You're not seeing it now, but you've seen it most of the times. We are getting dominated by teams that we should be beaten easily. We were getting beat. We were getting dominated by commentary. We were getting dominated by was it Karabag? We were getting dominated by
So,
Rashos.
whoa,
That's
whoa,
it.
sorry, Alex, I have to come in there. This is about the PL. This is not about the European League.
Yeah, but we
And
were getting
basically,
dominated though.
yeah, but there were like three teenagers, and it was a mixed team. We're
Yeah.
talking
So
about
yeah, but whose fault's that
yeah,
though?
yeah,
Whose
but
fault's
that's
that?
that's what we want.
But
Spurs
whose
fans
fault's
have
that
always
though?
said, why not try? You say he doesn't trust these players, but yet he's playing these players in the Europa League, and now you're saying, oh, you're getting overrun. Spurs won those games.
We're lucky to win
They,
those games, bro. We're
yeah, but they
lucky to
still
win
won.
those
But they
games.
still won.
We're
That's
still
what I'm
we're
saying. They
lucky to win
still
those
they
games
still
because
won.
Carabao couldn't even score their chance, and that's it.
But they
That was
st-
the
they still
reason.
won. Spurs
That was
still
the
won.
reason as well. Big up my boy Deji, by the way, every single time, bruv. Yeah, but the point is, yeah, right? It's that I'm sorry. It's like for me, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's not. It was not good enough, and I'm sorry. Those players, I've said it already. It's embarrassing me saying it. I want Højbjerg back. I'd rather have Højbjerg back in my midfield. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing,
All right, let me go to.
and that's all I need to say. Sorry. Just a
Yeah,
final
no,
thing.
that's
Sorry.
cool, bro. No, do your thing. That's
Let,
cool. But
let- let me
I'm
just do
gonna
my
get.
thing, yeah. Let me just do my thing. Let then John have his say. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
go on, John. Go on,
Yeah.
John.
But the point is, yeah, it's just like we just didn't sort out that team. We haven't got men in that team. When I look at Aston Villa, got men in that team. Yeah. All right. Arsenal got men. Yeah, proper men in that team. You know what I mean? Proper people in that team. Yeah. But when I see little boys. Yeah, Mikey Moore comes on. Yeah, they don't even look at him. They're saying, "So what?" You know what I mean? And as for Timo Werner, like I said, the below average Shane Long. Don't get me started, bro. Do not get me started. The thing that's even more fascinating is he actually played well. He actually played well in the first half. You know why? You know why? Because he helped us playing fluent. But that just says it all, doesn't it? You know, that's all I need to say. Back to you, Elsmatt. I'm done.
John.
Back to yes, man. I'm done.
Hey, John. What are your thoughts, real quick, on this?
I wish I brought my popcorn because that was brilliant. Wasn't it? Great stuff, Alex. So, because you told me I'm not allowed to go 50-50 or anything like that, I'm going to go for the players initially. Alex, you made some really good points, and Ange holds the can for a lot of this. But the players came out second half. Brighton were always going to up the game. They were shocking first half, and we should have scored. I mean, I know Welbeck should have scored, but we should have scored 4 or 5 first half. Starting off like I had a little jibe at Werner at the beginning. That cross by Werner Johnson in the first 30 seconds was just shocking. We should have been outside at half time. But you come out second half, everybody knows, except for Manchester United, who were terrible still second half, that Brighton were going to come out fighting. There was no way they could be that bad and that passive as they were in the first half. And the play, okay, there was Van de Ven got a little bit of deflection on the ball in it, and Udogie made the mistake, and it was poor from Udogie. And the third goal was very poor from Udogie. First, he gave away throw-in needlessly, and then got done on the wing. Was it by Ruta on the wing? I can't remember. Or Minty on the wing for the cross for Welbeck's goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was. Yeah.
But it just the players didn't stand up. They didn't stand up to be counted. It was very similar to the Leicester game. We all know that teams who play Thursday night football generally struggle on the Sunday. The stats show that they don't do as well as they have done when they don't, if they play in Champions League, because Champions League is Tuesday or Wednesday, and then Saturday or Sunday. It's definitely Thursday, Sunday, occasionally Thursday, Monday you play. And so that side is the players. I've got a lot of things about Ange as well, but because you told me I'm not allowed to speak about it, I'll do that later.
He's struggling. It's cool. We'll get into it. Don't worry. That's the reason why I set it up, was because I do want to talk about both sides of the game. My Ange will come into it, and I just wanted to see where everyone's sat. Is it the players or is it Ange? And I'm coming to you, Deji. I know your head's down right now, but I'm coming to you. And the question is, who is that loss on? And people in the comments, I'm glad you're getting involved, because I want to know A or B. A being, is it Ange? B, is it the players? And you can't say both. It's got to be one or the other. Who does second half performance ultimately come down to? Who is it? Who's at fault?
For me, my bro, big up to everyone as well, and in the chat, in the panel, and in the chat, and big up Alex. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm a big fan of Postecoglou. I'm a big fan in the way that he has us playing. I love the kind of bravery, the courage. But last weekend is simply on Postecoglou. This brother needs to fix up and look sharp. I actually think he is not respecting the Premier League. You know, you see Postecoglou, he gets upset when people challenge him about his kind of history, you know, when they challenge him about Australia, when they challenge him about Scotland, when they challenge him about Japan. The truth is the Prem ain't anything like that. What he's done is he's trying to do what he's always done in the toughest league in world football with the best players with the most money. And every other manager clocks sooner or later that it it just doesn't run that way. The Premier League is just too cold. Teams work out your system within 10 games because that's what happened last season. They sussed us out within 10 games and it was a disaster class. Postecoglou is at fault. Let me tell you why. You were rightly saying at halftime, you're giving your team one of two instructions. Lads, go out, get the third, kill the game. Or, lads, make sure you don't concede in the first 15 minutes. Yeah? Keep it tight, clear the ball, get the job done. That's the two instructions. What this brother did was he kept it simple. He went, lads, keep doing what you're doing. No, you can't keep doing what you're doing because keep doing what you're doing is the edictness. Keep doing what you're doing means we fumble the ball, play with the ball at the back. Keep doing what you're doing means we are taking risk. And that's why I started saying that I'm rating Arteta slightly because this brother knows when we've got the win, when we're 1-0 up, 2-0 up, shut up shop, sit back, don't stink out the place if we have to, get the job done. It's not the players because in that first half, that was the most comfortable, dominating performance I've seen against Brighton. I've seen other teams, even Arsenal didn't look so comfortable against them in the first half before Declan or Basmati got sent off. So for me, the system was working. But as you know, Premier League matches, you have seasons. When you're hot, strike. And then when you're cold, sit back, shut up shop. He didn't sit back and shut up shop. I know about the people been saying about adaptation, but first season, test and learn, I can take it. Second season, I can't take it. For me, the biggest killer for me, why I'm blaming Postecoglou is Timo Werner. This brother is a waste man. I hate this guy. I've never hated a player in my life. I hate this brother. Mikey Moore. We saw Mikey Moore on Thursday deliver an exquisite ball, and this brother sent this ball off for a throw on almost. Think the first opportunity within the first 30 seconds. If that's Mikey Moore, that's Brennan Johnson, that's 1-0 up. Maybe we go in 3-0, 4-0 up. This brother overhits the pass to Brennan Johnson, and it's a disaster. And when you've got Timo Werner on the pitch, you've got hope because he's rubbish. Do you get what I'm saying? He kept him on until the 80th minute. He could not see that we are under siege. From when they scored the first goal, I'm thinking, bring on Papsar, bring on Basuma, shut up shop. Do you know what I mean? Stink out the place. He left it. Can you imagine? It's not working. We're not getting any shots on goal, and he left it. That for me is unforgivable. And then he wants to start making changes with 5 minutes to go. What's Mikey Moore going to do in the 86th minute? Taking off Madders. Madders don't need to be taken off. Madders is probably our only creative player. Then you're bringing on Papsar and Basuma with 10 minutes left. Are you mad? And they're defensive. They're not even attacking players. So for me, he's a madman. I'm looking at Solanke. He ain't getting any of the ball. I don't understand bringing in a focal point striker that doesn't get the ball and that they're not even looking to give my man the ball. So Postecoglou, he flopped. And that's why he stood there like some donut at the end of the game, staring on the halfway line. Because he realised, do you know what? I hope the penny dropped on him that this ain't the Scottish League, this ain't Japan, this is the Prem. You either fix up and adapt in the situation, or this will happen. I can see Wolves doing this to us. This brother carries on the way like this. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I was deeply upset by Postecoglou because he talked a big game. He defended Werner. I think he's a madman. But legitly, after that performance, he's a madman. And that's why everybody's outraged. Not just us as fans. Do you get me? The players are having to apologise. He's having to look in the mirror. because you can lose a game. If Brighton had just sourced us off the pitch, that is different. But we were comfortable and got slapped. I've never seen a
But
team.
Deji, I'm going to come in quick here, and anyone, this is Royal Rumble right now, so anyone can jump in, pause. But what I'm going to say is, look, 5 games, we were on the bounce of winning. This wasn't the same energy before. Everyone was saying,
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
people were saying, right, this football was amazing. We went to Old Trafford, we dominated Man United. I know it was a poor Man U, but that before Bruno got sent off, everyone was saying sensational stuff, guys. And like, if we had beaten,
I've got no issue with the football, bro.
if we had beaten Brighton, would we have the same energy? Would we still be saying this whole energy be the same? Like, I'm throwing that out there as and Oren, you can come in because you're laughing. So
Yeah,
both sides.
it's
but
exactly
Oren,
what. Thank you for bringing it up. Thank you for bringing that up, Ash, because I was thinking about this, like, because I know it's going to be in the stream, and I knew that this was going to be Angie out. He's stubborn. Tactics. It's like Spurs lose one game, and all of a sudden the fan base is, oh, he's clueless. Oh, he's this. Oh, this isn't Australia.
It is.
We know that this isn't Australia. He knows that this isn't Australia. We know that this is not Scotland. But when Spurs were winning 5 games, I was listening to streams. Oh, it's amazing football. Fluid, great, attacking. This is what we, the fans, want to see. As for the plan B, I've been hearing it. Talk Sports. I've actually blocked Talk Sports because Talk Sports is the most negative flipping thing when it comes to football. When Spurs win, no one talks about them. But when Spurs lose, they a full 3 weeks of Angie this, Angie this. What is plan B? To sit deep, play long balls up front? We don't want that. Do you want to go back to Conte's way? Because if Angie had done that, exactly. So basically, when the Angie football is to be entertaining and score goals, and it works. So that's what I say. It's the players.
Oren, Reggie's saying there's a time and place. When you are
yes, but if you watching the match, watching the match, and I don't know if you can go back and watch the full match again, but watching the match, I saw when Spurs went 2-0 up, they did sit back. They did drop deep because they wanted to catch Brighton on the counter. And they did it against United as well. If you can remember against United.
Did they drop deep, or was it that Brighton had the ball?
No, they dropped deep. If you watched against United as well, remember when United had that like little kind of moment, even though with 10 men, Spurs dropped deep for the counter. That's what Spurs do. And a lot of people aren't realizing this because, I watch the match as a Spurs fan, but also watch as a football fan. And I see the tactics. The second goal Spurs scored was actually from a counter-attack. They sat deep, they defended. If you look at the Everton game or whatever, Spurs do sit deep. Van de Ven making that long run is from Spurs defending. So that's why I looked at it and I thought, these players have gone to sleep, they've taken it easy, and they can't get themselves back up to it.
So
that's what I...
Your head. Sorry to cut you, Oren. John nodding your head. So do you agree that with Oren that at times we did sit deep, we were a bit more pragmatic, we went to kind of like a low block environment?
I wouldn't say low block now. I wouldn't say low block.
Just not a low block, so I'm a bit extreme there. Maybe like a mid block. So Ange adapted at periods in the game. Did you see that? Because I don't think I saw that.
I've seen. I didn't specifically see that in this game. Just watched the highlights back before we came on, just to sort of depress myself a bit more, But there was times when we seemed very stretched, and there was times when we were. There's one point when Johnson was trying to break out from a defensive point. I think when we're under a bit of pressure, they will drop back behind the ball when the opposition have got the ball. But our general game is to try and push high, isn't it? But if they've got the ball up near the penalty area, we're going to drop back. I just want to go back to something Deji said earlier about Mikey Moore. I think the problem with, and I agree with Werner, I didn't understand why we signed him in May. The only sign I would have understood him was if we'd signed him on the 30th of August or something like that, because we had no one else. It seemed a very odd time to sign him, especially as we are paying all his wages. But anyway, Moore did play 90 minutes on Thursday, and he's 17 years old. That's probably why he didn't. One of the reasons, contributing factors, why he didn't start on Sunday. I did find it odd he didn't come on until the 85th minute or whatever. That was when we looked like we were never going to score. But I think the players just, as I say, it's the same as Leicester. The players didn't know what to do, and that's what worries me. Now, I'm gonna say about it now. That's where Ange has to take control. He has to take control. But he just stood there. He didn't give him direction. He didn't make any subs, which was baffling.
Exactly.
And his line about, subs would make a difference to the mental attitude. Well, if he'd brought Jed Spence on for Udogie after 60 minutes, we probably wouldn't have conceded the third goal.
Yeah, 100%.
He brought Jed Spence on at Old Trafford last week, and he played really well, I thought. Jed Spence didn't travel to Hungary. All the other players, I don't know, Udogie didn't, but Porro played and Romero played. Van de Ven was on the bench.
So wait, John, are you, sorry to cut you? Are you saying that it's an energy problem that some of these players, because we played in Europe, they're slightly jaded? Because I'm hearing a lot of talk from what I've been hearing on in YouTube and on podcasts that Spurs lacked energy in that second half. That press that Ange wants to do is not really sustainable throughout a whole 90-minute period. And so do you think it's an energy thing where, like, if you compare the stats, like Box Office showed me some stats from Sky Sports, and the stats were saying we committed less tackles from the first half compared to the second half. The tackles dropped off, the pressing wasn't as intense. Was that an instruction from Ange, or was it down to the players? Like what do you guys think it is? And anyone can jump in.
I think that there's a mentality that if you don't start on it and you let the other team get back into it, it's very hard when you've been at a really high level. If it drops, it's very hard to bring it back up again with the same guys. Unless you unless you can somehow get a goal, and then just suddenly we see when teams score goals, don't we? Have games can flip all of a sudden because suddenly that team will suddenly dominate. But because we were under the cosh, the players couldn't turn it around, and that's why I'm saying we needed subs. Yes, obviously we, like I mentioned earlier, Thursday, Sunday, when you travel to Hungary, they would have got back up, 3-4 in the morning, probably Friday morning. So you're going to be a bit tired, but I wouldn't say this early in the season they're that knackered that they couldn't have played better in that second half. That to me was a mentality problem.
So you're basically saying what Box Office is saying, because he's saying mentality was an issue at hand in that second half. He's saying we don't have enough leaders. There's not enough.
But Ash,
Go on.
And agreeing with Alex about Højbjerg, I've said I want Højbjerg nowhere near our team. But last season, he was our man that came off the bench and changed games for us at
we
times.
haven't replaced him, John. We haven't
No,
replaced
we haven't
him.
replaced him. And this is my problem with our recruitment. We haven't replaced
We
experience.
basically got these two youngsters in, Burval and Archie Gray. They're our future, right? But we haven't sorted out the now.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We have not sorted out the now. And unfortunately, Asmat, you've been a bit disingenuous, because I was telling you when we were winning those games, I saw problems. I was like sitting there, people were saying to me, give him credit, give him credit, give him credit, give him credit. Okay, thank you. But I've seen this under Conte, I saw this under Mourinho, thank you very much. I don't need to give him credit because my money's going into the stadium every single time I'm going to the games. So that's the credit I'll give them. You know what I mean? Because I know what's going to turn up. It will turn up against Brighton and see what happens. You know what I mean? Because like I said, the players are the problem as well, right? Because we got players that are not there. The problem is we are bigging up people like Bentancur, right, and Kulu, and there's a reason why Juventus let him go. There's a reason why, because they ain't got the mentality to do what they need to do, right? The player that I said we should now I'm looking stupid now is Perisic. Perisic has got up there. Perisic has got it up there. You know what I mean? And I'm looking stupid now because he was looking slow. But then I'm sitting there saying, who was in that 10-game run last season? Who was in that 10-game run last season when he was coming on every single time? Yeah? Perisic. Yeah? Another thing as well that really annoys me, I don't think he's adapting some of the players. Porro is not a right back, bro. He is not a right back. I'm sorry, he can't defend. He was getting ripped. He was getting ripped by Matoma, my man. Again, a winger that I'd rather have in my team rather than Johnson. I don't care whether he score goals. He's doing what he's doing at Nottingham Forest. You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
I've got a question, because and Deji and Oro can come on this one. Like, we're saying it's a leadership thing, right? We haven't got captains. Box Office and John both said Højbjerg, we haven't replaced him. There's no one to put their foot on the ball. So it's like a character kind of thing they're saying. But when I look at Brighton that beat us in the second half, who are their leaders? Who's their captain? Does the same apply to them? Is their manager better than Ange? Like, and Oren, Deji, up to you guys to respond to that. Like, what do you think? Do
Feels
Brighton have many leaders? Are they?
For
Do they have
me,
leaders in Spurs?
it would be a lead. I think when it comes to leadership, I think you can make that kind of reference or comparison with Manchester Piccadilly because that team is a hot mess. So hot that I can't even call them by their proper name. You know what I mean? We got to call them Manchester Piccadilly, located in the centre of Manchester. You know, that's how dusty this team is. When, like, Oren said something that I agree with, and I've never doubted that, we do play good football. Do you get what I'm saying? We've been playing good football. My issue with Postecoglou is that it's his job as a manager to manage the game. So when you see that the game is going left, what are you going to do? That's what I didn't see against Brighton. That's what I'm not seeing. And I'm seeing other teams, they're effectively doing that. And so that's why I'm calling him out. I don't think it's a you don't dominate teams 67% possession. We had 67% possession in the first half against Brighton. You don't do that if there's a mentality issue. Yeah. You do that because you want to win. You've bought into the manager's philosophy. However, it's the manager's job that when you see your team struggling on the pitch, do something. We saw Porro getting eaten up by Matoma. Try putting Spence there. Try it. You got to try something. Stop the tide. Your doggy getting doggied by Minty Breath. I don't understand it. You get what I'm saying? I don't get it. He's getting flip flapped. I'm just going bonkers. Get him off then. That means he's not on it. Maybe he's not well. I don't know what it is.
But Deji's
Midfield,
got nobody to replace him, bro. That's the problem.
Bentancur was non-existent second half. Swap him.
But who's
That's
competing with him though, Deji?
Bent over.
But Deji,
You know what
who's
I'm
competing
saying?
with him though? Who's
Huh?
competing with him? We've got our generational talents who are supposed to be good. This was the club. I said this on Mr. Box Office TV, by the way. So I'm not just saying this on
I
Spurs
think we
Kings
had enough
TV.
tools to
I
beat
said
Brighton.
they put the statement out saying, no, we don't need any more players. We don't need any players because we've got Archie Gray and Bertha are really impressing us in training. That was their words.
I
Yeah,
hear you.
yeah.
That
Hear
was
it.
their words at the
Hear it.
beginning of the season. Said
Oren,
that they were good enough. And I
Oren.
sat there and said that was a big mistake on Mr. Box Office TV in a video. Yeah.
But you know
As
what?
soon as
But
I said that, I said, look, that you're making a big mistake. Yeah.
no,
And
look,
look now, people are saying, oh, we ain't got a good squad. Oh, whose
I
fault's
hear
that
you.
though?
I'm of the view that we have enough tools. We have enough tools at our disposal to have not lost a single game this season. In my view, the Newcastle game should have been a draw. The Arsenal game should have been a draw, and the Brighton game should have been a win. So what that tells me is that there's an argument that the players that we do have is not as bad as we think they are. We should have won those games or drawn those games, but there's an issue about management. I look, you can't be losing a game and you're not changing anything until the last 10 minutes. I've never seen anything quite like it. Most teams make their first sub around the 60, 65-minute mark, especially when you can have 5 subs.
Mm.
How the hell did we continue for an extra 15 minutes? Yeah, 15, 20, with still no subs, playing the same way, getting no result. That bit there. That's why, as much as you want to blame the players, that's why managers are always, and it pains me to say, I'm not going to lie, it pains me because I hate this team. But I'm watching Arteta and Arsenal and the way they've been stinking out results and the shamelessness of that club. And I have to say, I respect it. Arteta, he knew to come to our gaff and sit back. He didn't mind. He didn't mind us. He said, you know what? We can't compete with Spurs in terms of ball possession. So let's respect that team and sit back. Where's our respect? Because Postecoglou, for me, is just a bit too arrogant. He don't respect nobody. And then he's trying to get vexed. You can't get vexed, bro. Respect the teams. Right now, I've got no confidence. Nuno Espirito, yeah, is coming to slap us up. Know that. Nuno with Nottingham Forest.
Wait. Oren, wait. Deji's talking too much
Yeah.
now. Wait. Let me bring someone else in. Hold on. Oren. Do you think, and I've got a caveat for this, so don't worry, let him land. Do you think if we had Son, yeah, because Son was missing, let's be real. instead of Werner, we would have like at least got something out of the game at even a point. Because obviously that's a quality issue there. Certain times I've seen Werner run and the ball's behind him. I'm like, bro, we got to run with the ball. What's going on?
Yeah, I think that was the case. But to go to the question, like the original, the first question you asked me when we joined is like, who do you blame? And I said
Yeah,
both.
go for it.
So I do think Angie is at fault as well. As much you asked me to pick one, and I would lean towards the players, but I have to say like Angie was at fault as well. He should have made subs even at halftime. I actually thought even before the match that maybe he would start Spence instead of Perro, and he would maybe even start
Wait,
Radu.
sorry to stop you, but do you think because he's had his hands in his pocket on the sidelines, do you think he froze? Like, what's going through his mind?
Yes, yeah, I think he froze. When I was watching the game, I was looking at the clock and looking at Angie. I think they all froze. They were just shell shocks. Like, what's happening here? And he froze. He didn't know what to do. And I think he was relying on the players. Obviously you don't prepare for that. You just don't. And he looked at the bench and he's like, right, there is no one really I can bring on that's going to make a massive impact. Yes, I think if Spurs were two, he might have brought Saar on and Basuma on, and it would have maybe shored up the defense, but it was already too late. And I think Andy said that. He said, no, I don't fully agree with what he's saying, but trying to understand his mentality, he says it doesn't matter what would have happened. And in a way, I truly believe that. I believe, yes, I would say bring on Radu or drag us in and bring on Spence, but I still think that the momentum Brighton had, they would have still got the goal. I just think that for me, it all started like as soon as that error happened, and the more tired because I don't mean like hopefully I can elaborate on this maybe in the stream, but I noticed that when Romero fades, because he builds up everything from the back, the ball goes to him first. When he starts to fatigue, the ball's not played as fast,
Right.
and it starts slowing things down, and it gave Brighton time. In the first half, he was zipping it past players. In the second half, he was just a little bit tired, fatigued. No, I get it, and Angie should have made the sub, but like you said, I think watching that match, I think he was a shell shock. Is like, what am I witnessing here? He's never maybe experienced this before, and it's a learning curve. And you know what? All the managers that Spurs have ever had, they've made mistakes. So this is Angie's one, and it's about what he does in the next game. That was the thing. We had Conte who kept making the same mistakes over and over and over. Hopefully, Ange in the next game against Wolves will, either bring subs on quicker, and fix the issues. It's not all doom and gloom. I know.
No, you're right. And
It's not all doom and gloom.
It's not,
They're
but
just-
I think though. Sorry, just
Yeah, go
quickly.
on.
It's not all doom and gloom, but we shouldn't feel afraid to throw challenges at our club. And so, for example, Owen, I said a couple of weeks ago that I expected Postecoglou to win his next 3 games: Coventry, Brentford, and Manchester Piccadilly, because I thought they're some of the dustiest teams I've ever seen in my life. And had he lost one of those games, I was going to call for his head. I'm now asking, I'm setting a new challenge now. Because for me, I'm being honest with you, I'm not accepting anything less than progress this season. What does progress look like? Progress looks like Champions League football. Bottom line. If we do not get Champions League football this season, then we've regressed as a club. And then I'll be asking questions about our gaffer. I don't care if it's done via the Europa League or us finishing in the top 4, or even if they make it top 5. I don't give a damn. Tottenham must be in the Champions League next season. And if not, I'll be calling for his head. So I've set a new challenge. We all challenge Brennan Johnson. He stepped up. Big up to Brennan Johnson for switching off his Instagram and focusing on what matters in the world, which is kicking ball for our club. Postecoglou for me has got to win the next 10 games. Has to. Because right now, 3 defeats in 7 is relegation fodder, whether you like it or not. What sort of numbers in terms of L's? What are we, Manchester Piccadilly?
Bro,
At the rate we're going,
Reggie, hold on. This is a good
L's.
point. This is a good point. I want you to hold on to this thought, yeah, because I want everyone to answer that. Champions League or Ange out? Is that what we're saying as a fan base? But before we do that, I want to talk about the first half, because there were some positives that we can look at in the game, which should happen. So in the first I'd say first half, the momentum bomb shown for both sides of the game. But if you just look at the first half, where Spurs got the 2 goals, you can see, as my boy Deji was says, we have complete domination in the location right there. So you can see there's a lot of blue bars, and the higher the bar is, the bigger the threat was for us in terms of attacking. I'm going to move on to the next slide, and this is just the first half stats. So you can see that the ball possession, we had 57% in the first half, and we had an XG of 0.92 for those who want to know about that. Big chances were equal, but total shots, we dominated them 6-4. Corner kicks, we edged that as well, 2-1. In terms of final third entries, we had 4 more entries than them. Long balls, we had more long balls than them. And total duels, I think this is the most important stat. The duel stat shows that we outbarred them for duels, 68% compared to 32% on that one. So duels, we really worked hard. And then in terms of ground duels, again, dominated that 68%. Aerial duels were winning that 75%. Dribbles 67%. But total defending as a whole in that first half was up by 80% compared to their 50%. So you could tell the work rate was there in that first half. In terms of players, ball carrying, Werner's up there. Romero's also up there for ball carries. Don't know how far the distance was, but Kulizeski, Doggy's up there, and progressive passing, Romero's way ahead. So in that first half, and just in the game in general, you can see that Spurs dominate the metrics on those ones. That's how passing maps. So you can see that Bentancur was the 6 in his position. It was quite clear to see, in fact, that he was more of a 6. Whether he's a 6, that's another debate. But you can see that between Romero and Mickey van der Ven, those two played quite close to each other at times and created a little triangle, creating a 3. And your Doggy and Madison would sometimes swap positions in that attacking role. But your Doggy often looked for Werner, as you can see that pass line's going straight to him. Obviously, on the right-hand side, you've got Porro, quite wide as well, next to Brennan Johnson, 22, and Kulizeski being the furthest forward alongside Werner there as well, with number 19 and Dominic Solanke dropping quite deep, playing that kind of false kind of 9, dropping in as a centre forward at times. That was their formation for Brighton. They started with Webster, but Webster came off early, of course, got an injury. Igor came on. He's not a natural centre-back. He's actually a full-back, and he jumped in on that left-hand side. But yeah, that was pretty much the first half line-up. That's Brighton's average positions. You can see there. And then this is Spurs' average positions. You can see our width were quite wide as well. In general, number 16, Werner was the highest. And then Kulizeski wasn't too far behind, as I said already. But yeah, Madison wins the ball high up in this transition. So he wins the ball high up. This is the start. This is literally in the opening seconds. He finds Solanke in space where Solanke drops into that midfield role. He drops off the 2 centre backs, and you can see Werner on the side looking to run in behind. And Solanke's got the vision to play that ball in there. Werner obviously makes that run. The space is ahead, and he squares that ball across to Brennan Johnson. That's the ball. Where the arrow is where I think it should go. But we all know it doesn't quite get there. And Johnson doesn't quite reach it because Werner overhits that pass. And here's another angle where you can see where he's over here. Romero picking that ball up from deep. Remember, I mentioned that in the stats before. He's picking up the ball deep and he's firing balls over the top. So this is a different style of attack. Us getting in behind. Madison this time on the run, running from deep. So again, another positive way. We're not playing the same way. We're not always passing through the line. Sometimes we're going a bit more direct. It just so happened it was Madison instead of Solanke on this one. But the pass just goes over. And I've paused it here because the ball goes over the top. It actually reaches Madison. And I'm like, could Madison put it across the box to Johnson to tap in? Obviously, he goes for the shot and it's blocked by the defender. It comes to nothing. Porro in the midfield playing like Trent Alexander-Arnold, in my opinion, hitting that diagonal. So I know box office prefers him out wide on the right, but in the midfield, when he does drop inside, playing that inverted role as a fullback, he can hit dangerous balls and be a threat that way. And Brighton in the first half found it hard to deal with him in this pocket of space. Hits that ball over the top into Maddison again. Maddison just lacks a little bit of pace and it just goes past him. Otherwise, if he gets a touch on it, he could cause damage. Werner receives the ball out wide, faces defender straight up, gets the ball, faces the defender up, gets the ball out of his feet, beats him for pace. Now, I pause it here because I'm like, can Werner get his head up and pick out two players? Obviously, you can see Kulu's on the edge of the D there, inside the D, sorry. Pause. But he could literally find him there and maybe Kulu could get that shot. But either way, Maddison's on the edge of the box and you've got Solanke right there in the box as well, around that penalty spot. His pass is too timid in my opinion. It's a bit too lackluster, and they end up.
This is rubbish.
Yeah, it's just rubbish at the end of the day. It's not enough quality on that ball, and it gets to no one. They intercept it. Okay, now we've got Johnson out wide. So Johnson now, his horizontal movement as opposed to his vertical movement is allowing space for Johnson to run down that wings, pull them apart, and he's fired that ball down the line with accuracy. Johnson's getting in behind. Can he fire that? Sorry, it wasn't Johnson. It was Johnson to Porro. Porro's on that ball. Can Porro cross that ball into the box to find maybe a Werner? And this is where, as I said, box office wants to see Johnson more. He wants to see Johnson on the edge of the box delivering crosses, because when he does it, guess what happens? It finds a man. So Porro crosses it into Werner. Werner, he headers it. He gets a header on it, and it comes off Maddison. Maddison gets the rebound because the keeper saves it, and it goes in the back of net. Unfortunately, it was offside, and Porro just went a little bit too early on that one. A doggy wins the ball high up. So this is when I was talking about our duels. This is something positive. We were pressing so aggressively. Brighton could not handle us away from home. They couldn't really handle us in their own gaff. And winning the ball to high up. Look at the space I've highlighted here. So Maddison passes it into that space. And I said Solanke peels off the two centre-backs as he always does. And he finds that space. As he peels off the two centre-backs, he's able to find that pass. He has the vision to give that pass, defensive splitting ball in between the lines, in between the two centre-backs. And that's where he finds Johnson. And Johnson finishes it first time, no effort. He's in form. He's always going to put that in the back of the net. Matoma, he was a constant threat the whole game. He pulls wide away from Porro, and he's able to fire across from the outside of his boot with a right foot cross. And fortunate for us, Welbeck wasn't fast enough. He just missed it. So we got away with one on that one. Porro, again, misses out Kulusevski, fires a diagonal ball into Solanke. Solanke, again, I've highlighted him, I've circled him there, dropping off the centre-backs to create that space, to find space in that midfield, causing havoc. They don't know how to handle him. They don't know whether they should stick to him or if they should drop off him. Solanke turning. So he's in that position. He turns. As he's able to turn, he's able to run at the two centre-backs. As he's able to run at the two centre-backs, he can find that ball into a Werner. Now, I've got Solanke carries his run into that space. I'm saying, Werner, can you fire that ball into Solanke? Because Solanke's running into that space. He's pushing those centre-backs back. As he's running into that position, he's created a space. Werner's pulled that pass back into the edge of the box, and it's opened up for Maddison because of Solanke's run. Maddison's got a shot off. He hasn't hit it as cleanly as I think he can do, like on his Leicester days. Nonetheless, he hits it. Keeper gets a hand to it. Should do better, in my opinion. And it goes to the back of net with 2-0 up. And we're bossing the game at this point. We're full of confidence. Romero passes it into Solanke. Solanke gets it into Kulu. Kulu on the turn once again. A little through ball in that channel, in that little half space. Johnson running onto it. It's a 1v1 situation. Almost. He's just got to get his burners on. He does that. He uses his strength to bounce that defender. Gets into the box. Can he put it away? Can he hit it top bins? Can he hit it across the box? So I thought he would hit it across the box like he had been doing it. And it's on his right foot as well. Unfortunate for him, he skies it. It goes across, goes over the bar, goes over the box.
The ball was slightly bouncing. And if you look at when there was an angle where it showed the ball, it just was slightly off the ground when he hit it. So if he'd hit it a split second earlier on the ground, he probably would have got a better contact.
Right.
Can I be honest though, John? I hear what you're saying, but he just isn't for me. He just isn't for me as a winger. He's an inside forward. He should be up front for me, right? I just think I look at Semenya, I look at Diaz for Liverpool. That's my winger. Yeah, I'm a Ginola sort of person. I'm a Bell sort of person. You know what
Okay,
I mean?
let me ask you this, box office, yeah, and it's an open question to anyone. Do you not think Johnson can be our top scorer of the season in the sport?
He could be, but it's just he's
But
just.
if
I
he's a top
rather him be a.
scorer, then
He
what's the
reminds me
problem?
of Vardy. He reminds me of Vardy. You see what I'm saying? He's like a Jamie Vardy. You know what I mean?
Well, if
Because
he's
for
what,
me,
all right, so
he can score goals and that's it.
then what's the
One,
if he's scoring goals for us like Vardy, then surely that
yeah,
can't
yeah,
be.
but he just doesn't do it for me. Like for me,
All right.
for
Suppose you've got a winger who on the eye, because I call Spurs fans. I don't know what you lot think. Are Spurs fans aesthetic merchants, or are we guys that want the job done? Like, as in, we want stat pads, we want the result over anything. The reason why I say are we aesthetic merchants because box office says he wants a winger that will get you off your seat, that's stylish, that can beat his man, blah blah blah. But if he's not scoring as many goals as Johnson,
it
then what's
causes problems though, Smatic.
yeah,
It
it will
causes
cause problems.
problems because the
But so
thing is
does
though,
Johnson.
I
Johnson
don't mind the
scoring problems
Johnson,
by
bro,
getting
but
the ball in the back of the net.
I'll be honest with you. I'm a Smatic. I'm an aesthetic guy. Yeah, because I don't watch football just for stats. Yeah, I don't play FIFA. Yeah, right. I've said this to Will Stewart. I've said this to Will to his face. I've said it to loads of people that love stats. I say you're too much playing FIFA. I can't do it. Yeah, because I don't do that. I
I,
didn't do that in the '90s. I didn't do that in the '90s. I'm not doing it now. So this is the way I look at things, and that's it. Yeah, stats are important, but you need to win. That's when stats are important to me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and then
I
That's
Johnson.
what
mean,
that wins and losses. Yeah, and how many trophies he won? None. That's all I need to say, and that's it on that one.
If
But
Johnson was
Brennan,
like, if
Brennan Johnson,
go on,
Brennan Johnson won't be the top goal scorer at my club this season.
who will be the top scorer? Who will
It
be
will be Solanke. But I'll tell you why. Brennan Johnson, I'm loving the kind of form that he's in. The thing with me is he's just a nice boy. And for
you know
me,
what happens to nice boys? You know what
yeah,
happens to
I
nice
don't think
boys?
it's gonna last. For me, you know, you want a Neto, you want an Eze, you want an
Exactly.
Elise, you want a warrior, you want someone that's gonna be getting in your face, you want someone that can do 1v1.
He's a
You
confidence
know,
player, isn't
Brennan
he?
Johnson scoring goals, but he's not beating his man 1v1. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen him take the ball and say, "Let me go at you." In fact, you're more likely to see that from Timo Werner than Brennan Johnson. However, Brennan Johnson has got himself in the right places and has finished, unlike Timo Werner. So I don't expect Brennan. I think Brennan Johnson will exceed his goal scoring or his GA from last season, obviously. I'm hoping that if Brennan Johnson can get 15 Premier League goals, then he's had a remarkable season, in my opinion. But for me, I just think he's just too he's nice. He's not aggressive enough. He's not a monster. And I think what Spurs lack is just some monsters, and that's why we liked Kulusevski out on the wing, even though he cuts back. He doesn't mind getting stuck in. And when Igor came on, I remember I talked about Igor and how Brennan Johnson didn't want it from him. I saw I don't even think Cooley wanted it from him. Do you know what I mean? So we need guys who ain't afraid of the physical challenge, and I feel like we've got nice on the eye ballers, but are they effective? Are they gunmen? Are they
There's too many
assassins?
nice
Are
guys.
they
There's too many
killers?
nice guys. They're
They're
too
not killers,
nice.
man.
They're too nice. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? We've got no arrogant or swag players. They've got confidence issues. Yeah, all of them. You see Werner. Werner, when he's got no confidence, he's nowhere. Yeah, all of them are too nice. Ange can't deal with characters. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
Oren.
He
So what do
can't
you
take
think?
big characters. I'm
Do you
sorry,
agree with
because he
this?
got rid of the big characters. He got rid of the Argentinian Tom Carroll, aka Lo
And
Celso. You know
and
what I mean?
also,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
I
You
also
know what
want
I
to
mean?
ask Oren as well because I feel like Oren is kind of sitting on the fence this evening, and I'm still trying to suss my brother out. And I'm not here trying to go at my fellow Spurs fans, but I need to hear from you, Oren, what your expectations are of our club and what standards you hold. Because yeah, I need to hear where you're coming from so that I know how to angle what I say next.
Um, well, to answer your question, as a Spurs fan, I expect Spurs to finish um, minimum top four and to always be fighting for the title and for winning a trophy every season since Poch, even before Poch. So that's my expectations. The reason why I sound like I sit on the fence is because I try to understand it as a football fan point of view and see it as two teams out there both trying to beat each other. I don't go, you'll never hear me say my club or we or us because I don't take it personal. It's a game of football. If fans allow football to get them angry and rage, you need to get a hobby. Seriously, because I know that after the international break, Spurs can go on a 5 match winning run. And other than Alex, who I have to say is the most loyal person when it comes to his opinions, I think all fans would be going bouncing again. Of course, you'll have Alex saying not good enough and this. That's fine. That's good. But that's my stance on Spurs. I expect the Spurs to win every match. I expect them to play entertaining football. I've been supporting Spurs since I was 9 years old. I've been through everything that the club has been through, and nothing will ever stop me from supporting Spurs. When Conte was there, Josie was there. As I said, I don't get angry, I don't get frustrated. I just look at it and go, right, I'm not in the shoes of those players. I'm not facing those players' things. So for me to sit here and go, oh, this is what this player needs to do. This is what this player needs to do. And I can agree with Thibaut. I understand fans' frustration with him, but I can understand exactly what he's doing. He's not playing for Spurs anymore. Thibaut Warner is playing for himself to try and get some confidence back. Every single thing he does is to try and prove to himself. And when he stepped over the ball and he fall, you can see it's like, oh my word, he knows he's going to get credit. He knows he's getting slated, and I understand it. I do get it. But as a fan of football, I don't wish any player or would say any player shit or rubbish or crap. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't do that because they're players. They're giving their all on the pitch, and that's what they do. And for us to sit here, if any one of you guys or anyone who slates Thibaut Warner can go and play a professional game of football and cross perfectly all the time and do this, then fair play to you. I want to see it.
You
But
know
I've
what?
seen,
You know what, Oren? You know what, Oren? Like,
yeah,
it depends what cloth you're cut from. Because when I play football, yeah,
hmm
people will come out and they bollock you. None
yeah,
of this pussyfooting around. If you're
mhm,
shit, you're fucking shit. And it's down to you to step up
yeah.
and be that
I
guy and prove them and go better next time. Do you know what I'm saying? There's times when I
no,
said,
I
bro,
agree with you. Yeah,
I've had poor games and I have to
yeah,
put my hands up. You know what I'm saying? I've got to take that L. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? So I don't know. Like everyone, like at the end of the day, it's nothing personal. As you said, we don't get angry or upset. But on a daily
I
basis,
think
you
I
can't
think most fans
you
do.
can't critique a player. If you can't critique a player, or if you're a player, you can't take criticism, then maybe this is the wrong sport for you. Do you know what I'm saying? But
But
I don't
It's
legit,
know.
but legit,
I understand that and I get what you're saying, but there's criticism and then there's criticism. Like if you think about Brendan Johnson, he had to deactivate his Instagram, and
I hear that.
imagine,
That's different.
right? So you get told, you said you play football. I've played football, and if you play bad, your mates call you this. But imagine having 20,000 people.
That's how it is, bro.
Damn it.
Listen,
Yes, that is how it is, and I'm not
listen.
denying that. But
I've
that's
heard,
but
I've heard a
but
lot. I've heard the monkey charts. I've heard it all, but when playing football,
yes, yes. But like what I'm
it
saying
gets
is,
so ugly. But go on, carry on, go on.
but what I'm saying is, these players, you have to look at the mental side. Like if Thibaut Warner brought out, oh, the mental ill, like he's got a mental problem and stuff like that, fans will switch. Richarlison did it. Remember Richarlison? He was getting slated left, right, and center. Brought out the mental issues. He started crying. Now he can do no wrong. He hasn't played all season, but when he plays, he's going to get clapped. So, with the way I look at it is that I'm not saying fans shouldn't do it. That's cool. It's just me personally.
Yeah, I
I,
hear
I
you.
just
I
I
hear you.
just don't do that against
You
players.
know
I
what?
I
You
no,
know
just
what?
don't.
Owen,
Is a fine line. I hear it. It's a fine line between getting personal and all that. But
Yeah.
for me personally, and anyone can jump in after this,
yeah.
if I can't sit down and I can't say, because back in the day, people were like, and then burger, and then belly.
Mm.
That was all right. Emerson Royale.
Harry Winks.
Well,
I didn't agree with any of that.
I know
You know?
you weren't. I know
I
you
mean,
weren't. I know you wasn't.
Yeah.
When it was what's his face?
Harry Winks.
Sanchez. Sanchez come and brought his parents to the stadium and got slaughtered. Did he get this amount of attention on social media? Oh, we
Exactly.
need to be nicer to him. Preferential treatment. That's what I'm hearing. I'm here to call out the narrative.
John Barnes got
That's even back in the
got,
day.
got,
That's going
got,
further. But I'm talking
got
about recent
worse.
times. I'm just saying,
I
bro,
know,
if
but
we're
I'm
gonna
just saying.
do
I'm
this,
just saying. I'm trying to put. I'm trying to be diplomatic saying this because this is now getting to
it's
levels
going to
where
a
I can't
different
really
way, which
go.
I didn't really want it to go. But I'm
Yeah,
just
that's what
Yeah.
saying,
I'm saying. So I'm
if
trying
we
to.
need to
I
cover it,
hear
I
your
don't.
point,
I take
Orion. By
what
the
you said.
way, I do
I
hear
hear
your
I
what
point.
just
you
want to
said.
say,
Stay away from it. I'm saying, look, it is what it is. Because people have 1 minute they're like, oh, we can't say this about one player, but the other day, man was talking. Man, NWA had serious weight issues. People didn't care. They were
yeah.
cussing about the club. Do you know what I'm saying? So what are we really doing here? Do you know what I
That's
mean?
why I said that
No,
we
so,
should be allowed to challenge. And I say
yes,
it's a
Yes,
thin
correct,
line
correct.
between love and hate. You don't know that tune. The issue I have between with look, Oren, everything you're saying, look, you are clearly someone of the people. You know, I kind of like your calm spirit, the kind of love that you're bringing. But I can't help but tell you this a simple fact. I would do what Timo Werner does if someone covered my train fare, like legitly. I 16 quid from my house to the stadium because he actually offers nothing. And I'm not saying I would offer anything, but I'm just saying it don't make sense. And also you just said something that was so poignant, and I respect you for it. You said you expect Spurs to be top four minimum. He's
yeah,
not a top four player. That's just the truth, and
yeah,
that's what
but
Alex keeps talking about. We
yeah,
have players
But Thibaut
who are,
Wiener but Warner is only playing because Son is injured.
yeah,
He's not.
That's the
He's not
problem.
first
Brother
time.
there.
That's the problem, Orion. I don't
He's
like backups. This is
but
why
yeah,
I said I don't like backups.
but that's the thing.
As soon as you say the word backups to me, I say no because then we
Well,
talk
what I
about
mean,
Bergwijn. We should talk about Harry
Right.
Winks. Let's talk about Sessegnon. Let's talk about all those players who are
yeah,
backups.
yeah,
That's the problem.
they Spurs did. Spurs fans did, and the nonsense was those backups aren't good enough. We need to improve the quality on the bench. Thibaut Warner is only playing, and his confidence is shot. I get it, but to move on with Johnson, Alex, I do agree with you. I've said it from the start. Johnson's not a winger. He to me is a striker. He's going to be. I think if he stays at Spurs for next 5 years, he will be the striker, the main striker. He's not a winger. I don't. That's why you'll never see him beat his man.
I want to get sorry to cut you. I want to get
Yeah,
John's view on the whole. Because do you think, like in January, do you think where do we need to strengthen? Is it an issue? Do you think if that game we have Richarlison, for example, Odegaard, are they good enough like for Ange to look on the bench and then he say, look, it's not quite working. Instead of bringing on Basuma and Sarr, he can bring on an Odegaard to change the game. Do you think these players are the level where they're top four to help us to compete against the Liverpool? Because top four, if you deep it, top four is Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal.
That's
So
done. Those three are done already.
so exactly, those threes are done already. And all right, so supposing we're competing against Chelsea, then so let's say we're competing against Chelsea. Look at their firepower and Aston Villa. Despite of their run in Champions League, they're still looking quite healthy, regardless of that Manchester United result. Like you would say, they're our main two rivals in terms of top four. Does Richarlison, in your opinion, and Odegaard cover that to help us to get top four, or do you think we need something more, or do you think Bergvall and Archie Gray will help us? I'm talking about in the league, not cups. Did they offer us something? And if so, why didn't Ange bring one of those two players on? Because they never got a
Okay,
feature.
so first question: are we going to get top four? Currently, my answer is no. With the squad we have, I think Son's fallen off quite a heavy cliff. Um, yes, his finishing is really good, but I don't think he gets in the positions Werner would have got into on Sunday. You know, for all as much as I don't like Werner and his crossing is atrocious, I don't think Son would have got there because he's not the player he was 2 or 3 years ago, unfortunately. And I think obviously we've got the young lad coming in, the other Korean lad coming in January, but he's only, 17, 18. Richarlison, if he can stay fit, is a good player, but he can't stay fit. And I think we need to move him on and get another striker in somehow, unless Lancashire can get enough game time to get up to speed, but he's still a young lad as well. I do think we need another midfielder who can come and dominate the ball because we're missing that. We definitely missed that on the weekend. And at the back, obviously in Europe, we've got this ridiculous situation where we've got no defenders now because we had to register Forster and we couldn't register Spence. For me, we still need probably 3 or 4 players definitely to try and get top 4. And we know January you don't sign that many players. You maybe sign 2.
Do you agree with because the narrative is at the moment we do lack control. Do you know what I'm saying? We lack control in the midfield. Do you think there's anyone on our team that can give us control, or do you think that's a position that needs to be filled?
Bentancur on his day can do it, but he's been a lot better than last season. We knew he was going to struggle last season after coming back from the 2 injuries. I mean, I was at the Aston Villa game last season where he did start and before Matty Cash took him out and did his ankling. And he was running that game. And that was a game we were expecting to get thrashed in because we had Davis and Emerson at centre back. We had Brian Hill played that game. And we were dominating the game until Matty Cash took Bentancur out. And I think on his day he can, but he needs the right players around him. Maddison and Kulusevski with Bentancur is, when we're in full flow, is really good. But when we're under the cosh, he needs someone with him, I think. He needs legs.
So you
Probably.
think
Whether that's Star or Basuma, I'm not sure because I've not really seen that dynamic work well yet. Maybe we need another player in there. I'm not sure what the answer is.
So
can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go on.
Quick question, going off topic a little bit.
Go on.
We obviously spent 30 million plus add-ons for Gray. Brighton spent 40 million on Rutter also from Leeds.
Wow.
Who should?
Wow. You don't need to say more to me. For me, it's night and day. It's night and day. Rutter to me, Jorginho, or whatever you want to call him, he did us over, man. You know what?
He was brilliant, I thought.
Guys, I don't know. What do you think about looking at January? Is there any actually not in January? Do you think Richarlison? Do you guys agree with John? Do you think Richarlison can make it?
No,
is Richarlison good enough?
That below average Emil Heskey. No. I'm sorry. I'll sell him tomorrow. I'll sell him tomorrow if I had the chance.
I've bigged up Richarlison. I think he can. I think his best position is the left-hand side. And I think I was glad to hear Postecoglou say he sees him playing on the left-hand side, maybe alongside Solanke. I think it can work. He did it at Everton. He did it at Watford. And I think it's another physical presence that we need. I was saying from summer, by the way, that we should have sold Son, sell him on a high. This kind of infatuation with players, or in his kind of put things into perspective, as football, it's a game. We should have sold Son from time. We could see he was crumbling down like London Bridge from time, and we should have seized the day. He's not himself. Brother can't shoot in front of goal, and sometimes, and the reason why I don't like holding on to our stars like that is because we don't prepare for when they lose form or for when they leave. We never prepared for Kane. Solanke should have been at Spurs a season before Kane left.
100.
So that he's sourcing now. The same for a replacement for Son. Should have been in place like an Eze so that he has a season with and then kick on. I don't understand. We got to wait until the season after they've left to try and replace him and then expect them to hit the ground running. That don't make no sense. And so for me, it's been poor in terms of the recruitment or the preparation for the inevitable. We knew Kane was going. We know Son is going to lose form. Where was the preparation for it? Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not saying that I dislike Postecoglou and the work he's done. The work he's done with the tools he's been given is exemplary. But I'm also thinking to myself, with these same tools, he can manage it better. That's what I believe. I think there's enough there and that's why we're pissed. If we genuinely felt that our team was really as shit as some fans are making it out, then why are you pissed? They're crap. Do you get what I'm saying? But you saw some progress. You saw a little white light that showed that, maybe this football can work. Actually, maybe the high line, reducing the chances, having all the best matrix in every other sphere is gonna bring some success to our club. And then when you see it mismanaged, because that's what's happened, it upsets you. But I think all of the players that we have under the right management can cook and do something positive, including Brennan Johnson.
Guys, I'm going to talk about the second half because I think the comments have been waiting for it. I've already spoken about the first half. tried to keep it positive somewhat. Didn't quite work. Kind of went back to negative real quick. And I get it. I read the room. I get it. I know where we are. So let's get into it, man. Let's get into that second half because it was abysmal, wasn't it? And in that second half, the numbers don't lie. The numbers tell me that in terms of expected goals to them, it went up 1.14. Big chances, we had none. They had three. Total shots 7-7. We matched it for them. But in terms of actual duels, now, if we look at the duels, our duels still quite high, but um, in terms of ground duels, they were higher than us. They won more ground duels. We weren't pressing the same. Our shape wasn't the same. And just going back into these clips, it's going to show you that. And I think the reason for me is when they brought on the fullback in Estepina. And the last time we played him at the MX, he scored a wonder goal, and I was shocked. I was like, if we bring this player on, he's going to be way more aggressive, a lot higher, and he's going to cause us a lot more trouble, ask more questions. And I thought Brighton played for me with a four up front. So you saw Matoma, you saw Mente, and then you saw Welbeck and Rutter all play up front, all in like a four. And I think that's the reason why we had so much problems in that second half. Now I've circled these two, and the reason why I've circled these two, actually, let me change it. Hold on, so you can see it better. Yeah, I said Brighton wing backs are more aggressive and have inverted, and the wingers have inverted. Sorry, so that was what I was talking about. They played more of a 4-2-4, and so for me, when I circled those two players, for me the issue with Ange is he plays with one holding midfielder in the Benton core, and then you're playing with Madison and Kulu playing high up the pitch, which means that Bentoncourt's got more ground to cover. And essentially, when you've got Estepina running with the ball, that's making Bentoncourt run towards him and pull off in that area of the pitch, which if you can see on the slide, there's a lot of space in the midfield. There's no one alongside him. Werner is in orange boots, right? Werner's orange boots. So Werner's trying to get back to help. But even him, he should be in that kind of the middle of the midfield, the middle of the pitch, the middle third. He's not there. Anyway, as I move on that clip, as I've said, Madison is far away. Madison's actually out of the shot. You can't even see Madison in the shot. Madison's meant to be there covering in that position as an 8. I've circled Romero, Van der Ven, and I've circled the doggy because the doggy's gotten a lot of heat saying, oh, it's all the doggy's fault, blah, blah, blah. But the reason why I said the 4 players, when their manager tweaked it and he made Matoma play inside a little bit more and he made their fullback push up high aggressively, that caused Porro and Romero problems. We play with a narrow back 4 and Porro gets dragged out position and so does Romero. So I've circled those two, and the last circle I've got is Mickey van der Ven. That's the third circle, and the one in red is the doggy. So the two centre backs really are Mickey van der Ven and the doggy, with the two players in between them. One on the outside is Mente next to the doggy, and the one that's causing the trouble would be, I think it was Welbeck. No, it was Rutter. Sorry, in between the two of them. So that Mickey van der Ven can't actually see where he is at the moment. He can't see him, and he's on his blind side. So when this ball comes in, I'm saying I'm saying Mickey van der Ven should be in that space where the arrow is. Mickey van der Ven should be there. The ball comes across, and I've circled him. And I think for the doggy, he's anticipating Mickey van der Ven getting there and blocking it. It doesn't happen. And as it comes, a doggy's used his wrong foot. He's used his right foot instead of his left foot. Sorry, he's used his left foot instead of his right foot. And that's why he's completely mishit it. If he's just used his right foot, he can knock it off for a corner and there's no trouble whatsoever. But because he's anticipating Mickey van der Ven coming in, he's come at him quick, he's bubbled up, he's used his wrong foot, he swings at it. And then that's when you see Mente gets on the back of the end of it, on the back stick, and he puts it in the back of the net. So, as I said before, it wasn't just a doggy that started that. It was in the midfield, Bentoncourt having to do 2 jobs, not having another midfielder beside him, Madison way out of shot, and that space in the area was exploited. with the two players, with the four up front, causing Spurs all sorts of problems, and Mickey van der Ven not being able to clear. And Mickey van der Ven has not got as much criticism, in my opinion, than as a Udogie. Here's a part where Kulu crosses a ball just past Solanke. He does well, but for whatever reason, Solanke just misses it out on that position. He just misses it, and it goes past him. 4 midfielders are circled here in this shot. I said Bentancur again. He's left by himself. I've circled him in the red. The other area I've circled in the red is where I think a player should be. I've got an arrow next to Werner, but I reckon it should be Maddison that should be in that position. If it's not Maddison, it should be someone else. Maybe Bentancur should be there, and maybe Kulu should be the second 8 or the second 6, whatever you want to call it. So the point is there's space exploited, and the reason being is because they're playing with a 4 and they've adapted. We've gone out wide. You've seen Estepina. He's pulled out wide, and Poro's not been able to deal with him. There's another shot of it. Matoma's now not playing wide. He's in between the lines, and he's pulled off, and he's asking Romero questions. What does he do? Romero's tried to go for the ball, tried to deal with it. Matoma is able to shrug off Romero and Bentancur with strength, with good feet. And now you can see Rutter's in between Mickey van der Ven and Udogie there. So really, as Romero's stepped out to deal with it, Mickey van der Ven, where's that ball going? Can you anticipate where that ball is going? Can you stop that ball from coming in? Udogie, on his shoulder, he's got Mente on his right-hand shoulder. So again, that's slowing his progress down to know what to do next. Anyway, Udogie gets close to him. He does shoulder him. He does manage to barge him, but he doesn't get enough on him to, cause him enough problems to put his foot in to win a challenge. He rides the challenge. I think he's got great feet, shows good composure, gets his shot out of his feet, and he beats the goalkeeper, and it ends up being 3-2 right in the back of the net. I think he does really well, and I applaud him for him. The third goal, from a throw in, again, Udogie, he's touch tight to him. I think he's a bit too tight. I think if he gives him a little bit of space, then I think Mente doesn't know where he is. So I think he should have stepped off him and then allowed him to face him up, and then he could assess the situation a bit better. But because he's touch tight to him, he's able to roll him in that position. And now Udogie's beaten, but there's 2 other players. So there's 3 players that Mente, in my opinion, is beaten, because I'm thinking, Werner, you need to help Udogie in this position. Can you help him? No, he can't help him. It's too easy. He's gone into the byline. He's running towards it. Bentancur has to come across. And I've circled Romero and Porro in this instance, because I think they're flat-footed and they can't see where Welbeck is. Welbeck's on the move. They can't pick it up. Bentancur doesn't deal with it. It goes in. That cross doesn't get blocked. In fact, it gets deflected. As it gets deflected, Welbeck's on the run. He headers it. It's in the back of the net. It's 3-2, and the game is done, more or less. The game's done. Is finished.
Can we just go back? So obviously the throw on was
Yep.
because Destiny managed to roll it out by mistake. So pretend the throw in that led to that third goal was Destiny miscontrolling it and basically rolling out. But
That's
there's
right.
a number, the cross, to be fair, to dig it out from there is really good. But I think Porro has to come across. He knows Romero's switched off like he has multiple times this season,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Porro has to be the man. It's his job as a fullback to see that danger and make sure and put Welbeck. I know Welbeck's a tall guy, but he has to put him off as much as possible.
Yeah.
There's multiple errors. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm saying there is communication. That's what the problem is. There's no communicating. There's no shouting, man behind you. And maybe, again, the crowd was up. Like, even I played as a goalkeeper and defender. And one thing I was drilled, not professional or anything, but it was for school. But even in school, you're told, talk. You see the great players do it. They talk to each other. Spurs were doing that, Mark Kim, So I do think that it's interesting, like the last 2 goals, it's Romero and Pero. Both played on Thursday. That fatigue, it's called an adrenaline drop. Don't know if you ever watch the UFC, where a fighter goes in and they're all ready to go. And then, they talk about it. It's like an adrenaline drop. And I think that's maybe what happened between, Pero and Romero. The adrenaline dropped. The pressure was on. And the Brighton goals wasn't kind of like fancy trickery play. It wasn't a highline expose. it just seems to me like there was miscommunication. Like even Romero, watch him against United. When he's fresh, he's organising that back line. He's going step up. And I think that's where Van de Ven excels as well. When Romero's fresh and ready, you can see him directing. And I think once that communication breaks down, once Romero stops giving orders because he gets fatigued and he's just mentally thinking, I think that's when the issues start. Like, it's great that the stills are great, that you've broken down everything and what you've talked about is great. But I do think that, like, looking at this now, I do think there was no communication between these four players at the back. There was no you cover them or you get back or no anticipation. It was kind of like, let's stand here and watch and hope something, it doesn't go in.
Yeah, so I totally agree, because you know what, I've done this in stills, and in a real game, it's moving at 100 miles per hour, and they've got to make decisions really fast. So I do take that into consideration as well, when these things are happening. But yeah, mental fatigue and being sharp could be a valid reason why we were conceding goals, and it did happen within all quick concessions. So
Yeah.
it was literally like the turn of the crowd getting up for it. The players didn't know how to manage, the attacks. It was wave after wave after attack. The momentum swang, and it's then when we need to steady the ship, it never happened. And it goes back to what you guys were saying about Ange. Can he get on the sidelines? Can he control what's happening? And can he bring a substitution on to kind of weather the storm? Is there communication with the players? I think it's a blame pie for everyone for that last 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Here I've got Maddison on the ball. And this just sums it up, because Maddison's on the ball. It breaks to him. He's in an attacking position, an attacking third. I've circled out Werner. Werner's in the right position, in my opinion. Can he fire a ball wide into Werner? If Werner gets that ball, can Werner then smash that ball across into Solanke to tap in? That's our trademark goal. Can that happen? Instead, obviously, Maddison goes for the shot. It gets blocked, and it comes to nothing whatsoever.
Is this because Madison thinks that Werner would have cocked up the cross?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This is it. This is the actual. This is what it is right now. So I honestly think the trust in the players is an issue, because really he should be trusting in his players and should be able to pass it to Werner and say, look, it's a team game at the end of the day. He's not going to win it by himself. Everyone needs to contribute. Werner's in the right position, pass it to him, and then if Werner messes it up, then it's on him, not the other way around. Do you know what I mean? So I think it could have been salvaged. We could have got a point from that, but
if Spurs had scored, would it have been deserved?
No, and this is the thing. So
no, it's just a question to everyone. Like, if it was a 3-3, would that have been deserved?
Based on the whole game, yes.
Yeah.
Based on the second half, no.
Okay.
But I think it comes down to, again, we haven't got those players that have got that arrogance and swag just to get on with it. You see what I'm saying? Because, like I say, I think I look at that second half. It's not a surprise to me. It's not a surprise to me, because I don't trust in especially in that I don't like that midfield. I do. Listen, I think Kulu's doing well. I think he's been doing things that he's done at Parma, back when he was at Parma in the Italian league, and in that midfield. I think me and Dan and others have been saying since last season. He was doing this last season. He should have been in the middle, because I never liked him on the right, and that's it. And he has actually helped.
Hold on, wait a minute. When you have to give Ange credit for taking him from the right wing, because when we bought him, we never played him in the midfield. Ange actually had the balls to take him out.
Well, that was last season. That was last season.
No. When we first came, I know last season he put him in the midfield, right? So you have to give him credit for that.
Through injury, yeah.
I understand.
Well, yeah. I'll give him credit, but the thing is, I think
because he could have easily not listened to a lot of people calling for it, and we're like, "Rah, is he listening to the fans?" Actually, rah, you know what?
Yeah, but he did it half the season. He did it for a few games, though, Ashmatic.
Yeah, he did it for a few games, and then
he stopped.
The form dropped. That was the reality of it. It wasn't working. And so, look, he thought, all right, let me take him out of it, because it's not quite working there. And he put him out wide. And then this season, he said, you know what, I'm going to put him back there. Because he could have easily just kept him out wide after he had him in midfield and then he take him out. So you got to give him some
Well,
dues there. Where you say, right, you
but
know what?
Asmatic, what do you want me to give? Give him a blue Peter badge? Like I said, I
No,
think
no,
yeah,
not a big deal, man.
you're right,
I'm
you're right.
saying you have to be fair.
Yeah,
That's it.
I've been
You
fair.
have
I
to be
said
fair.
he looked
That's
good.
all.
I said he looked good.
Cooley's been
He's,
Spurs' best player in
I
midfield.
wouldn't say he's our best player.
He has been Spurs' best player this season.
I don't know about
Every
that.
pass he's made, like against United, he created 9 chances, the most that any player's ever created United. At number 8, Kulu's been our best player this season.
Well, I think he looks good, but I think Poro's been our best player, attacking
Well,
wise.
Kulu's
For
been the
me,
best player. Like that, yes, for you, but you obviously don't like Kulu.
yeah,
So
yeah.
exactly. So therefore,
I'm more hard.
Kulu, if you watching the game, Kulu made all the right passes,
I think
and he got past players. Him at number 8, I was on the fence. I was thinking, he's not. I don't think he should be a right. Maybe he could be left. But at number 8, Kulu has been. I think he's been the best Spurs
You
player.
can see when Ange actually in that game, he put Kulu on the left. Didn't see him at all. He put him on the left. He put him back in midfield, and he put on Moore. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
he's all right. He was good. He was good, this mate. It's not that I'm not saying that he looked good, but
Yeah, but
I think
I'm
he
just
works well
saying,
with Madison. He
look,
works with
I will
Madison.
criticize Ange. Trust me, Ange for me was at fault. I wouldn't even put it on the players. For me personally, I put it on Ange because my man was able to tweak things. He put off, he took off Kadoglu, that their fullback, because he couldn't live with our wingers, innit? He put on Estepena, and then all of a sudden they were more front-footed. And I like the way he kind of got their 2 centre forwards to drop in like 2 ways. So Welbeck was in the midfield, and so was Rutter. He was in the midfield, and that was causing us a bag of problems because no one. Mickey Van der Ven said, "What shall I take him?" Romero's like, "Shall I take him?" Do you know what I mean? And because we were narrow as a back four, that created space for the wingers to attack, and that's when you saw Mente come alive, and then Estepina sometimes would go out wide, and sometimes it would be Matoma, and they would interchange, and then it was all havoc, and then all of a sudden. That's why I think the defensive numbers dropped off. And I'm like, Ange, you got to do something about it because
Yeah,
if Romero's not stepping up or if Mickey Van der Ven's not stepping up to win that ball, because they were being less aggressive. Why is it in the first half we're ultra aggressive, we're pressing high, we're winning that ball up, and in the second half it all drops off? Ange has got to do that
It's
too.
because of tactics, and we ain't got somebody that is going to put their foot on the ball, like composure, right, and say we need to
Well,
slow
Bentancur,
this
for
down.
me, Bentancur was that guy, but he had
the,
Well,
too many
he's
fires
not that guy though.
he had
He's
to-
not
the,
that guy.
He had too many fires to put out. You're asking a guy with an ACL slash meniscus who's just recovered from it to cover left, cover right, put the foot on the ball, do balls over the top,
Yeah,
switch
but
play.
that's matter. Whose
What
fault's
I'm
that
going to
though?
say, I
Whose
think
fault's that though?
at times it should have been like, raw. One of the midfielders drop alongside Bentancur to help him out. Do you know what I'm saying? To give
But
him.
then that goes back to saying what we're saying. He needs to adapt his tactics then.
Well,
And,
like,
and at the end of the day, I look at
yeah,
that midfield.
definitely
I
has to.
look at that midfield,
Definitely,
and I kept on saying to you, I said to you, why do we not get a Mike O'Reilly? Yes, I know he's injured for Brighton at the moment. Yes, okay, cool. But there was other midfielders that would be better placed, right? You could even do this. You could have put a Locatelli, for example, someone experienced like a Locatelli, right, next to Archie Gray.
I think what he could have done was taken Bentancur off because I said, right, he's doing a lot right now, and bring on the different midfielder just to give him a rest. You know what I mean? Because it was literally non-stop. And I think the 2 substitutions we made was poor. And to do it, as Deji was saying, on the 79th minute or the 80th minute,
yeah.
was,
You putting then Basuma in that position, who's not a number 6, who doesn't play
yeah, but
defensive
with
midfielder.
Basuma, at least you've got a little bit more mobility. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas I think with Bentancur,
He doesn't stop it. He
he's,
doesn't stop it, doesn't he?
yeah, but I'm
Doesn't
saying
he?
the mobility that you're getting with Bentancur's mobility, like I don't know if it's the same as it was before, and you're asking him to do a lot of work,
Well,
cover.
but then it goes back to the question: what do we do in the transfer window then? I mean, because you're basing it then saying again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning of the show. It's all good having this future Archie Gray, right? But he's playing mostly at right back. He's not even playing his position. He's not even playing the
Even
position
Even bringing on a young Archie Gray, take Porro off, give him a rest if he's
Well,
mentally.
that's what I'm saying. You're not even
No,
playing Archie Gray,
you
who's
know what I'm
supposed to
saying?
be
But
this inverted
yes, but
midfielder.
Alex, they all Archie Gray, Mickey Moore, they all played on Thursday.
Yeah, but the
So
point
you
is though,
can't keep
Arian.
playing these players. You
Yeah,
can't.
but Arian,
It's easy.
Orion. Yeah,
It's
but
easy for
Orion.
you to say put these players on. I get it, but young players today, it. I think with Angie, I get why put Mickey Moore on. We want to see Mickey Moore play all the time. But then what? But then we're the same fans who say Mickey Moore plays, then his form drops, just like Dele Alli. There's going to be more of that. If you look at crop of players, Rashford, Dele Alli, they all got rushed, young, big contracts. Then they drop because their body can't keep up with it. So you can't. So I get what you're saying, but and I do agree. Like, and I did say from the start that I think Angie should have made subs. I think all Spurs fans watching this was looking and go, it's a 67th minute. Why are you making substitutions? Take Thibaut off. Put Madison up front. Bring on Sarr. Bring on Basuma. Do something. Just do something to break up the game. And he just stood there, and I thought he's in shock. He's in absolute shock.
I
And
wouldn't put Madison up front. I'll be honest with you.
no. Like,
That's
just
crazy.
I'm not saying put him up front. I'm saying like he goes out wide. He takes Warner's place just for a while, just to get him out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And because that would allow, say, Basuma or Sarr to come on next to Bentoncourt,
Yeah, but
because Bentoncourt was struggling.
this is where I can't accept it, though, Orion. I actually respect what you're saying. Earlier, you made some very good points about. You made a really good point earlier, which I wanted to say, but I didn't get the chance to say it. But the point I'm saying is that I think we made us the problem we made our squad so short. That's the
Mm,
problem. We
yeah.
can't use the Archie Gray and Bertha because they're too young. Well, we
Mm.
knew this already. You know what I mean? You said that this was good enough for the squad. You said they were good enough to compete in this squad.
Yeah, they
You know what I
are,
mean?
but it's a squad. It's a case
Well,
of.
well
But what I'm saying,
if you can't use them in a game
no. But
like
what I'm
this, they're not good enough then.
But no, what I'm saying is, if they hadn't played on Thursday, he probably would have brought them on. But they
Well, that's
played on
excuses though,
Thursday.
Oriam. That's
But
excuses though,
here, no,
Oriam.
these they played the full 90 minutes. Archie Gray played the full 90 minutes.
Yeah, but
Mickey Moore
Oriam,
played the
if
full
we
90
got them
minutes.
on the sub bench,
Yes,
if
but he did. But he brought on Basuma. He brought on Basuma and he brought on Sarr. It was too late, but that's what he should have done from the
well,
start.
yeah,
And
Can
that's
I,
that's the
can I
a
just
good
thing.
chip in,
argument. But the
guys?
point is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
if they're
Sorry,
ready,
I need to go.
yeah, go.
Can I just chip in one thing? I
Yeah.
think Alex, you're right. They shouldn't if you're not prepared to bring her on, they shouldn't be on the bench. But then who do you replace them with? I think they could have played 20 minutes. I know they played, and Gray looked absolutely shattered on Thursday night, and he looked like he got a few kicks as well, didn't he? But we were the only, I think, definitely only English team who played in Europe not to make a sub around the 62nd minute or beforehand. He did look shocked. By all amounts, in his post match interview with the press, he looked shell shocked. And it's very worrying for me that a guy I know he's been in the farmers leagues as people call them, but he's been managing 20 years. He must have had situations like this before. He didn't react. He should have changed it either tactically or with subs, definitely subs. And it is worrying because you get games like this. All teams generally get games where they have, it flips on them and you need to turn it around. And at that point, the manager has to see the players aren't doing it. And that's where Ange failed for me. I know I said that it was the players because the players started off second half on the back foot. And if they hadn't started off the back foot, we wouldn't have conceded 2 goals so quickly and then the third. But Ange has to take responsibility that he needs to do what he can to stop what's happening on the pitch to turn it around again.
All right. The
And
thing is, before you go, John, just to add
yeah,
on, he
That's some good
actually
points there, by the way, John.
post match he doubled down. He doubled down, and he was basically saying what Oren was saying earlier. He was saying how bringing on substitutions wouldn't make a difference to the game. Like if we deserve to win the game, we deserve to win the game. He doesn't want to win it because of
I take that. But the comment last year about not practicing defending set pieces.
yeah.
What he said was that's not the problem. They were practicing defending set pieces. He just likes to try and shift he's saying that's not the reason we're losing games. We're losing games because we're not controlling games. That's basically what he was saying. But he for some reason, he likes to put out these little things out saying that's not the problem.
Well, but
But
didn't we get
it's more
mad
a
for Conte?
cultural problem.
Didn't we get mad for Conte for doing that? Because Conte used to talk in riddles.
Oh,
And
Conte just used to talk
yeah,
tosh,
but
didn't
this
he?
is what I'm saying. Is it is he allowed to get away with like talking like once he's emotional and he spits his dummy out the cot? All of a sudden he's talking in riddles, and then some people will take what he says. Like lots of fans will take what he says literally, not like you.
Yeah.
You might sit down and think about it and was like, actually, let me read in between the lines. And actually, maybe he meant that. But because he's come out and he said no, it wasn't because of substitutes. No, it wasn't. Like he's coming across very stubborn, and it just seems like I don't know. Like he, and also another point, he also said um, he didn't throw the players under the bus, but he kind of went like yeah, it's you know
Not winning deals. They
yeah,
weren't
they're
winning
not winning
deals. They were
deals, they're
being
lacking
competitive.
intensity.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, he was saying he was kind of like calling them out. Do you know what I'm saying? And like if Conte had done that or Jose had done that, if Conte had done that, I think the fan base would have gone mad. How dare you call the players a da, 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 da. Do you know what I mean? But when he does it, it's like I don't know. He gets a free
Well,
pass.
in truth, Conte did do that. Again, it was his last match, and a lot of fans backed him and said they were absolutely right, and a lot of them slated the players, um, and including Pierre. I like it's weird Alex wants Pierre, and people are calling for Pierre because when Pierre was at Spurs, he wasn't fit enough to wear the shirt, and he was boring, and he was simplistic. So I think like again, when I listened to Angie about set pieces, now that you brought that up, he never said we don't train. He said we don't really focus on it all the time because there's a lot more to focus on. There's a bigger picture. We've got to focus on different things. We just don't gonna train set pieces. Like Conte would only train defending and set pieces, but then when it came to attack, it was none. So I think that's what Angie's saying. He's saying I'm not going to specialize in just concentrating on set pieces. We do work on it,
Mm.
and this season Spurs have only conceded one set piece against Arsenal.
Who are the
So
best at set pieces scoring?
yes,
Aren't they?
who the same move that Spurs or Arsenal scored with, they went against Man City. Gabriel lost Kyle Walker, but there wasn't. And that's what I'm saying. Like I listen to Talksport, and after that Arsenal game, oh, Spurs can't defend set pieces. They're rubbish. But when Man City is, nothing was said about it. It was that was a great piece of movement to Gabriel. So my philosophy, my thing is that when Spurs lose, the analysts and the pundits are so quick to start slating Angie, and then I hear fans start saying the same thing. Tactics, this players aren't this aren't, and I was just like, I'm not, Spurs, yes, the second half, but like I said at the start of the stream, there's plenty of Leicester. Look at Leicester, last minute goal by Birdwin. You know what I mean? We were all jumping for joy, thinking it was great, and this was from a Conte who was playing defensive football. So yes, the Brighton game, mistakes were made, but it's about what happens next. It's about, and I'm sure he's going to understand, right? Bring substitutions on. And, as for Archie Gray and Birdsville and all, we know they're brought in for the future. And yes, Spurs fans will like older players, but my word, trying to get a top player these days, good luck. Good luck with the amount of
So are you guys
negotiations.
just to
Right,
finish
sorry,
off?
lads, I'm going to have to shoot anyway. It was great to be on.
Yeah,
Thank you very
good
much.
to meet you. Yeah, see you later.
Thanks for
Cheers,
coming
boys.
on, John. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I was saying is basically, are you saying that are we overreacting? Because obviously, as I said at the start of the show, this is the worst start for a Spurs manager in 17 years, and we obviously capitulated from a 3-2 from a 2-0 up loss, 2-0 up win to a 3-2 loss, and now Alex has brought up, we've got a squad. Or it looks like we've got a squad issue, like because we've got a squad depth issue where we're not able to bring on some of these players, rotate between Europe and the Premier League. As we saw against Brighton, we weren't able to bring anyone on that could change the game. It's not like we had goals in us to affect the game. And so, is it an overreaction from the fan base, or is there causes for concern?
Personally, I think with every Spurs loss is a big overreaction. Like Spurs will, like I said, Spurs can. If this was, I would understand if Brighton hammered Spurs hitting the post, but that wasn't the case. They just lifted their game, scored 3 goals, and then they dropped off afterwards. You know, and when I watch Spurs games, yeah, I can sense it. I think, well, me personally, I don't know if you guys watched the, I'm sure you did, but I just sensed it. Like I said, it felt like it was too easy. And as soon as Brighton scored, you knew that was, you felt that was going to happen. And Brighton, this is the way of Brighton, and Brighton stood up. Brighton are not an easy team to beat. They had drive, they had passion, they wanted to win. And I just think, me personally, as I said, I don't get upset. It's a game of football. And there's been, as I said, there's been plenty of times when I've been, again, the most famous one, the most famous comeback, Champions League, Lucas Moura. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I just take it with a pinch of salt, and I think it's about the next game. What will happen in the next game? And I don't think there's cause for concern, because those players, I get why I didn't bring Birdeville on and Gray on, because they played no, not Birdeville, but Mickey Moore. They played the full 90 minutes. And I do think Angie did make a mistake. I wouldn't say he didn't. But it's like, okay, let's see what he does. He'll learn from it and take off a couple of players. And I do think, though, that not praying. I've said this before and I've been slated, and I'll say it in the stream, I'll be slated even more. But I do think that if Dragusin gets a run in games, him and Mickey Van de Ven would make a far better, stronger partnership than Romero and Van de Ven. That's just my opinion.
Box office, do you agree with that? That Dragusin and Mickey Van der Ven would make a better partnership than him and Romero.
I think Jurgensen's a very good defender, but I just think recently he's just. I think he's in a bit of a hole at the moment, because I think he's come in and I don't think the manager really trusts him a lot, which is a bit funny because he's the one that brought him in. So
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, maybe it would be a better partnership, to be honest with you. Yeah, it would be. I still have my I think Van der Ven's a very good defender in terms of in the system. I still question, and I think this is what's come up from the last game, Brighton, is that I think he uses his pace too much to get him out of trouble. I think he needs to not use his pace sometimes. Sometimes he needs to use his position sometimes and be some of these great defenders who don't really have pace. You know what I mean? Like your Sol Campbells, your Van der Vens, your Van Dijks, your John Terrys. They didn't need pace. They could just be in that right position. You see what I'm saying? Learn how to do that without using pace, because he's gonna get injuries. That hamstring's just gonna be doing that.
I think you got it. That takes time. I think that will come with Van de Ven. It's like Kyle Walker. Look at Kyle Walker. He'll always use his pace to get him into trouble. It's always going to be a weapon.
I think that's why he gets in trouble a lot of the time, though.
But I think Van de Ven is still only 22. I think that's going to come.
I think he's going to have to learn it soon, because the thing is, though, if he keeps on doing what he's doing at the moment, he's going to get hamstring and just clicking.
I think personally, Van der Ven's done enough Romero. Personally, I think Romero is the senior of the two centre backs.
Yeah.
Romero's the enforcer. He's the one that steps out. I think in that game he got overwhelmed because he had to deal with not only the fullback, because Porro sometimes is high up as a fullback. Estepinho would run past him, and then all of a sudden he's got to come across. As he's come across, he's still got to deal with Welbeck. Do you understand? So he's got two problems to think about. Normally, Romero steps out. He's the enforcer. He's the one to get to the ball before, and he puts out a fire before it happens, if that makes sense. So sometimes you see Romero, it looks like 6, because he's so high up in that midfield, winning that ball up. I think Romero, compared to Dragusin, I think Romero on the ball is better than the Dragusin in terms of like ball distribution. I'm not sure about ball carrying, because I did see a glimpse of that in the Euros when he did take it out from the back and he did an amazing run. That was a small glimpse. And then obviously when he was playing for Genoa in Italy, was it Genoa?
Ooh, yeah, I think it was.
Maybe not. But I just remember he did have elements when he was able to take the ball out from the back, and he's able. But I just feel Romero's a little bit more composed than Dragusin on the ball. I think defensively in the air, Romero is deadly. In terms of like attacking the ball, in terms of like goal threat, Romero is deadly. But Dragusin defending it, so far from what I see, Dragusin looks like a really good box defender, like defending the box, the 6-yard box, because he's used to playing in a back three. He's used to playing in Serie A, where they're coached and defensively taught to to defend the box, and he's coming into a new league, into a new system, and he's being asked to be in a 2, not a 3, and play high up the pitch. And so now he's so used to dropping off and when a turnover happens, the ball's over the top. He's used to maybe not stepping up, whereas Romero knows to step up in those situations because he's older and he's played in that system for a bit longer. So I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, yeah, Romero needs to go because he's had a few laps of concentration.
No, I'm not.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm
just saying it.
I'm
Rest.
saying that kind of sense in the fan
Yeah.
base because it's been back to back now. Let's face it. Pause. I feel like Romero's made a few mistakes this season that's been costly for us, and a lot of people are looking at that and thinking, "Rah, Romero, maybe we need to cycle him out." But the whole point of bringing in Dragusin, which I agree with Mr. Box Office on this bit, is he was there to bring competition. Do you know what I mean? So Ange can't be complacent and think, yeah, he's my captain or vice captain, because he was captain for that game. And no, people were saying, Son's not a leader. Son wasn't there. Romero was the leader. He was the captain. Is there a point where we can say that Romero is a language barrier? Is there a language barrier thing? With Romero not being able to communicate to the players on the pitch more effectively? Because I didn't really see him moving his hands trying to organize the players and
I think that's been a problem. I think that's been a problem for
is it an old-fashioned thing where we're so used to the Roy Keanes, slide tackling and because the only way I can see Romero being a lead on the pitch is when he does that kind of slide tackle and you're like, yes, come on, Romero, well done. But
Yeah.
is he a leader a lead by example like a Gerrard, or is he a leader example where he kind of G's the players up and you want that from your captain?
I think he's like a Gerrard maybe. I think that.
But then if
That's
you
it.
say that, couldn't you say the same about Son? If Son gets in a good frame of form and he starts scoring the goals, supposing he outscores Brendan Johnson now and he starts getting 6 in a row, then he starts taking, the penalties. He starts winning us games. He starts getting clutch moments for us. Isn't he like a Gerrard where he does his talking with on the pitch talking like that? Do you know what I mean?
I think he's like I say. I think he's
essentially. What is the difference?
I think they're both. I think he does show by example. I don't think he likes to ruffle a lot of feathers, Son. For me,
no, he doesn't. He's not that character.
He's not that sort of character.
The youngsters do look up to him.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Son is captain material, but I'm just looking at nowadays. It's changed. I feel like you don't really get those play. How many times have we seen? If I look at Arsenal, you see maybe Gabriel. But he's not the captain. It's Odegaard. Do you know what I'm saying? I see Rice doing more talking than Odegaard, but Odegaard's the captain.
You look at the characters. I think it's a character thing.
It is characters, but then I'm saying in particular for armband, who should that be? Because really, if we're looking about character, Vicario for me has the biggest character. Then maybe Bentancur. But Bentancur, I only see his character because he's kicking up the seats and he's flaring up his arms and stuff. And do you know what I'm saying? Is that a captain? Because we see them flaring up their arms and moving with.
I just think you just need a little bit of. I think you need a strong leader in that team that doesn't really care about saying something at the moment. Because I think unfortunately, this club is really got a lot of weight on it because we ain't won no trophies. I think it shows with the games that we're losing and stuff like that as well. Really, the mentality of the players. I think. I mean, that's why I look at people like. I'm not so easy with players like Kulusevski because I think he gets too secure in his position sometimes because I don't think we've got players that can actually compete with him. I think that attitude's kind of run through the team. I think it's just like, oh well, let's be nice. You know what I mean? Like I said, I just don't think we have those sort of characters. I see that in Arsenal. I think there's more men in Arsenal than in the top 6 than what we've got in our team, and that's it for me. So, because I don't just base it on, I base it on characters, because I saw those sort of characters. I know it's different now, but I do feel that you still have to have that character mentality. You don't have to your manager telling you it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, when you're on the pitch, you've got to do it for yourself. You know what I mean? You still got to have your bread and butter that you've learned before. you know. And I think that for me is important, and I don't think we've got enough of those people in our team. And that's just me. I think Bentancur shown in that last move, that the goal for Ben, what is it? What is
Welbeck.
his name?
Welbeck.
Welbeck. That you know he, he,
Ex-Gunner.
he loses it. He's not trustworthy. You know what I mean? He's just not trusted, and that's it. That's why I say I
I
can't
want to
trust
hear, I
anyone
want
at
to hear what
midfield.
Horace got to say because I feel like he's disagreeing with every point you're saying about
No,
Q.
no, 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 no. Like,
What were you going
yeah,
to say
it's
about the whole
it's
Arsenal point? Like, obviously, Arsenal being together for longer than some of these players.
Arsenal has, and you know, Arsenal. It's taken a while to get that, and this year Arsenal are playing pretty much defensive football, and they have those leaders who will, score goals. And on Spurs on a good day, they have those leaders. Romero, I think he's more of a action captain. He'll make those slide tackles, make those barging runs, and I think that excels. At the same time, if that drops off, you can tell that the other team drops off. Like I said, like he gets the ball first, him and Bentancur, and he was dictating. And Brighton, that's what Brighton actually stopped. I think Brighton stopped passes from Romero, which then players didn't know what to do. But there's something that like I thought about before the stream, and there's a certain player like Angie said that if he sees a player has the right attitude and trains hard, they'll get their chance. There's a certain player called DJ Spence who I think is not getting his chances, and I do believe that I think he's actually played better than Destiny Udogie this season, and I think he should be starting more. And he's he's playing on the left, but he's right-footed. But I don't think that matters because of the central location. Every time he's came on, he showed hunger to get back and drive up. And I do think that, and that's what I was saying about Dragusin as well. I'm not saying Romero's rubbish. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he needs a rest. He's fatigued. He's costing Spurs game. If this was Eric Dyer, we all know what would be said.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows what would be said. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that Romero isn't good. I understand that he builds up games, but I do think that Dragusin is there and he could play. And I do think that even if he had brought on at halftime, I think he would have been more physical against Welbeck and understand it. He would have made challenges. And I think Spence, as I said, I think Spence should start over Udogie. Just to put them on the bench and say, right, you're not guaranteed in this team. Simple as that. If you're not performing, you need rest, get the rest going. And it'll be interesting to see what happens after the national break. Did he say Wolves is the next game? Is that at Tottenham Hotspur?
West Ham is our next game.
West Ham, is that at Tottenham? Is it, or
it's at
away?
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
It will be very interesting what Angie does. Whether he plays the same team again or whether he, I just think Spence deserves a chance. Like how much as a player, how much do you train and have that right attitude, waiting for that chance? For then the manager goes, nah. How long? When does that line become a fine line?
Do you know what it is? Managers always have their favourites. I can see a doggy playing for Italy having an absolute worldie of a performance, and Ange just saying, "Look, he needs to be starting. I can't drop him." Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's so unfortunate for Jed Spence because we do want to see him against like your West Hams, your Crystal Palaces.
He should be.
He has got it because I remember when he did play in that League Cup or the FA Cup, and he was playing for Middlesbrough underneath Warnock or Steve Cooper, whoever it was, and he batted it up. Do you know what I'm saying? And Arsenal fans were like, "Who is this?" Man United fans were like, "Who is this?" Do you know what I'm saying? He ended up scoring that banger from outside the box. So he's 24. He's not a kid. Everyone looks at him.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It's
4 years old. He's a big boy now.
Yeah,
he's a Porro. So if he's going to get his chance, it will have to be now. And he went on loan, obviously in Italy. He had some growing up to do. He went out there by himself, had to do his thing. He went to Leeds, didn't have a good stint there. Do you know what I'm saying? But for whatever reason, he's been brought back. The coaches were begging him. Certain coaches were like, please, Ange, don't get rid of him. I want you to keep hold of him, give him a chance. And now it's just like, what can you do in it? It's just down to Ange whether he can recycle some of those players. Like you said, if Porro playing in Europe, maybe give him a rest. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe give them competition and say, look, Like your place isn't guaranteed. You have to work for it.
That's it.
And who knows? Like Jed Spence might not be working well against Brighton, and then you can bring a Porro on, and that can change a game. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it's more nuances like that. I have to agree. Like maybe we do give Jed a chance in his right position, and also trusting players in their right position. Like Mr. Box Office saying, like Archie Gray as a right back. He's being brought in as he's a midfielder. Like, why not? Why are we not? I do understand that they're trying to blood in the player to play all positions to get an understanding of understanding each role for each player. When you play under that role, like as a centre back, when you play as a fullback, you as a midfielder now understand how to play and how to integrate with those players because you understand that position. A bit like Mickey van der Ven when he was his youth development, they played him like total football. So in Ajax, they would play Mickey van der Ven as a winger. They would play Mickey van der Ven as a striker. That's why Mickey van der Ven hits the ball so cleanly. That's why Mickey van der Ven looks natural out wide. Do you understand? Because all of these players have total football. And so for me, you just need to play some of these players, and if they stink it out, they stink it out. But you know what? He's got to throw them in the deep end and see if they swim. I think a lot of players are putting extra pressure on Archie or having that kind of eyeballs on him because he is 40 million. It is that big price tag. Unfortunately, it happened to Brennan Johnson, happened to Richarlison. As soon as if those players were their right price, if Archie Gray was 20, 25 mil, it wouldn't matter. Do you know what I'm saying? If Brennan Johnson was 25, 30 mil, we wouldn't be having the same conversation about Brennan Johnson or even Richarlison. But because these players have been inflated, well, we're putting it because we've got an expectation as a fan base. Well, me, I have anyway. If I see Archie Gray 40 million, I'm expecting him to come in.
I didn't have any expectation though. I sat there and thought, what is the big deal about this kid? That's what I said. I sat there and thought, nah. But I kept on saying,
for 40 million, you expect him to at least, come on and play in position. He said, I like to play as a 6 and an 8. You were hearing, I was hearing generational.
Yeah, that was the problem because the thing is,
I mean, look, people have their perceptions. People are going to overrate certain players. It is what it is. But it's down for me to see it in a Spurs shirt, and then I can take my own.
I think this is why I say at the moment I can't rate Ange because, like I said from the very, very get go when this guy came in, Ange Postecoglou, I said I can't rate him because I don't know him, right? And because I've seen this before, I've seen managers say, and that's it, and I still don't rate him. I still don't rate him because the thing is, I've not seen anything, and the only thing that I can say right now is that one thing I will say is that I can see the ownership are backing him because they're doing what he wants. He's got the players he wants as well, and they've been saying consistently they are still backing this process. Now, I still do not believe it still because I can't. Regardless whether I need to see it. I've said it to you how many times, Ashmatic. I need to see it.
See
and that's
what?
it. Well, I need to see them stick with this man for 4 years. I need to see it because I don't see it.
Well, that's the thing.
I think he's going at the end of the season. I said it on my channel, Mr. Box on the TV. I think he's gone at the end of the season.
What a lot of I understand the frustration that fans get seeing the manager sacked, but when the manager's sacked, majority of those fans wanted the manager out.
No,
the fans decide like Nuno was sacked.
That's where the problem is, Orion. That is the problem because that's why I keep on going back to
the fans don't give managers chances.
No, it's the ownership that give them time. And if they stick with the manager like Arsenal did, and I've said this,
yes, and they want to.
I said I said if Arsenal do the same thing that Arsenal did with Arteta, stick with the manager, right, ignore the fans. That says a lot. That shows me ambition.
But they will. That's the thing. That's the difference. No matter what happens now, I think they will stick with Angie. They will back Angie.
That's where we have to see it. This is where we have to see it.
Well, that's the thing. You will only see it in 4 years' time.
You won't see it tomorrow. That's the point. That's why
he's not going to be.
Well, that's why I've got to stick my guns on this one because I have to see it.
The fans.
I can't do this fantasy. I cannot.
No, it's not fantasy. The fans, the majority, the real fan base, the majority of the hardcore fan, or I don't even know what to call them. They understand the process. They understand that Angie's building and he's turning around. if you think about it, what he has accomplished in less than, say, a season and a half. You only have
Well, Poch did
Ben,
more.
Ben Davies and Song from the Poch era. He's cleaned the whole team out.
But Orion, Poch did more.
But Poch was there. Poch was there for 5 years. You see this whole Poch narrative, and I'll have to go here. But Poch got Spurs when Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal were rebuilding. And I remember when Poch was getting second or third, and people all going, he's great. I went, as soon as Man City, Liverpool have their rebuild, and as soon as Arsenal have their rebuild, we will see what Spurs are truly like. And as soon as that happened, Spurs finished fourth, barely finished fourth. In the second season, Poch was gone. Because Poch, to me, was never a manager to win titles. I would understand the frustration if Poch had won trophies, but he didn't. He got to the Champions League final, lost. Back-to-back, almost could have won the Premiership, didn't do it. Got to semi-finals, didn't do it. Again, when he was at Chelsea, he got them, I think it was the League Cup and the FA Cup finals, lost. So Poch, to me, wasn't the manager to win titles. He got very lucky with the teams around him that was rebuilding.
I don't think he got lucky with the teams he got around him.
The teams around him was rebuilding.
You telling me that Antonio Conte got lucky with the team that he had then?
Yes, he did, because when on Conte won it with Chelsea, the only competition was Spurs. And as soon as Man City and Liverpool had rebuilt, Conte finished fourth or fifth, and he was sacked.
I'm not saying that, but you're saying to me
right
now that
yes.
and Postecoglou right now is doing well. When
he's not doing well.
Antonio Conte came in and got us top four with Eric Dyer, Virgil van Dyer,
but he got top four.
Sanchez,
yes,
and a defense like that, and Harry Kane and Son.
He got top four against an Arsenal team that was still rebuilding. And he made it seem like it was a miracle. But what happened the next season? What happened the next season?
With that team, if Antonio Conte has this team right now,
he wouldn't have
with the system that he's playing right now, right?
Conte wouldn't have this team.
Well, yeah, but if Conte had this team right now,
but he wouldn't.
But if he did,
but that's what I'm saying.
He would be cooking with this team.
No, he wouldn't. He'd be playing three at the back and defensive football.
Yes,
no Harry Kane.
It's counter-attacking team because you've got two wing backs.
Right. So basically, what you're saying is, you don't like Angie's entertaining football, and you would rather go back to Conte's.
No, I'm not saying that, but
football.
I'm saying there's a lot of narrative on this whole thing with Ange because he all he needs to do, and I'm going to say it because Dan said this. He said all he needs to do is play the ball forward, and then half the fan base on board. He was not, and I'm sorry, Poch, Martin Yol, even Ramos got a trophy. He got a trophy.
That wasn't the back of it, but Ramos was sacked in the season because Spurs failed to win games and they were sitting.
Yeah, failed to win games, but we sold our best two players.
Yeah,
we sold our best two players and didn't even get replacements for him. So I don't even understand that.
Yeah, Berbatov wanted to go to Man City or Man United, and
I know that.
Kane wanted to go to Liverpool.
Yeah, but you
can't stop players. You can't stop players who want to leave the club.
No, you can't stop players, but they lost two players and they didn't replace them straight away.
Because
Ramos, with the team that we had, right, got us a trophy. That's our last trophy.
Ramos won a trophy against Chelsea. I remember the game. And Spurs were lucky to win that game. It was a Jonathan Woodgate header. Spurs had no chance of winning a game. They were wrote off. It was a shock. So don't think that Ramos came in and did some magical thing. Even I remember watching the game, and I remember Ramos after cheering, and he's like, I don't know what I'm cheering for, but everyone else is, so I might as well. He had no idea about the League Cup.
Yeah, no,
absolutely not.
But the point I'm making is that at the end of the day, right, Postecoglou, right, got lucky last season. He got very, very lucky. Pochettino did more. And the fact is as well, and you might have a go at him, but he didn't win anything with Chelsea, right? But if you look at what happened with two teams, Tottenham and Chelsea, Tottenham started like this, then went down like this.
Right.
Chelsea were going like this, right? And then they went back up again because Pochettino is one thing that Postecoglou's not, a good coach. A good coach.
No,
he's a very, very good coach. He's a better coach than Postecoglou all day long.
But the
I'm
reason
sorry,
why
he makes the
Spurs,
players look good.
the reason why,
No player from that roster, and I'll even say it right now today, right, is not got better. No one's got better
Alex, I've got
because
a point. Let
what are
me
you
hear
talking
Oren.
about?
Know your point. Let me hear Oren's point. Go on, Oren. Go on.
That doesn't make any sense. Pochettino, like Angie went up 10 games, playing good. Then they got whole loads of injuries to key players. That's why they went downhill.
excuses.
What I mean, how is it excuses? Mickey van de Ven was injured. Madison was injured. You take top players. Look at Man City. Man City are the best team in the world. Take one player out, Rodri, and they're already struggling. That's one player. They've got Kevin De Bruyne. They've got Haaland. They've got all these great players. You take the core set of players from any team and they will struggle. Not just, I don't know if you, maybe you live in this world where you think that Spurs should go unbeaten in the league and play amazing, beautiful football. But that's not how it happens. Yes, I'm not saying, I don't believe that Angie was a good manager. When it came up to the, or not Angie, Poch, when it came to the big finals, he wasn't good enough. And it showed. All his records, when he had Spurs, he got them the Champions League final. What did he do? He fluffed it. Played Harry Kane when he was injured, didn't play Lucas Moura. When he got to the twice he could have won the Premiership with Spurs against Leicester and Chelsea. He fluffed it. For me, Pochettino he's a mate. He's a great guy. But you talk about you need this nastiness. Pochettino didn't bring that. And that's why Spurs didn't win anything underneath him. And they got the finals. And Spurs had probably the best team that any Spurs fan have seen. They had Harry Kane, Eriksen, Dele Alli. Even Eric Dyer was playing in the middle. These players gave their all for Pochettino for 3 years. And when it came to the big decisions, he can make it. We all saw the Chelsea game. What did he do at the Chelsea game? He stood there. I don't know what to do. Against Amsterdam, I watched him. I'm like, what's he going to do? He didn't do anything. It was the players who took, Dele Alli, who took a step up and tried to win things. When Poch came against the big games, he didn't know what to do. And if you look at all the records, all the managers that Poch has lost, he's always lost to a manager who's won a title. Ranieri won a title. Conte has won a title. Klopp has won a title. Ancelotti won trophies. Poch didn't know how to win trophies. Simple as that. What Angie has done, he's came in and he's completely rebuilt this team. Rebuilt it. New philosophy, new way.
Are you saying that Angie's better than Poch? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying yes.
Potential.
I would say yes. He's got the potential because if you look at the resume, because we all talk about titles and trophies, Angie's won trophies. Poch hasn't.
Yeah, it's Scotland and Japan.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because on the CV it says he has won trophies. Poch hasn't.
Yeah,
Poch has got the finals.
Agreed, but at the same time, he's a better coach than Andrew all day long.
But he can't be because a coach to me,
he's a better player. He's a better player coach any day of the week. He makes players better.
But Poch, if Poch was such a
player that he's made better. But if
Poch, how Kulusevski has improved.
No, he's doing the thing that he's doing at Parma. He's doing the things that he's doing at Parma.
Yeah, but you said he hasn't improved players. He's improved.
No, he hasn't improved.
Listen, Brendan Johnson has improved.
Poro can do more. Poro can do absolutely more.
What more can Poro do?
What he was doing before.
What can Poro do? What can he do more?
Poro needs to be more further forward.
But he's not a winger. He's a right back.
He's a wing back.
He's a right back. He's played all his life with a right back.
He's not a right back.
That's like going.
He gets cooked every single time.
He doesn't get cooked every single time.
It was one game.
It was one game against Matoma. Matoma would cook. With this word "cook," whatever the hell that means, Matoma will beat majority of defenders. He's a good, skillful player. Poro has Gamacho. Poro handled him easily. So Poro is a right back.
I argue that I don't think that was the case at all because I think Man United were actually quite.
But that's the thing about you, Alex. You think that every team who plays against Spurs, you don't give Spurs any credit at all. You don't give any of the players any credit.
You don't.
I've for 2 years I've listened to you, and the only time you've been happy was when Spurs had content to play negative football. That's the only time you slag off every single Spurs player like you can do better. I'm just thinking, like, Pero is a right back. He's not a left. He's not a winger.
He's a right wing back.
Because he's played there. He's played there his whole life. It's not like he's gone, well, when I was in Italy for Sporting Lisbon, I played a right winger, but now he has been playing. He's a right back, and he
He's a
plays
right.
a centre.
He's not a right wing. He's a right wing back, right? And
Well,
he should be more up
he's
front
a
because
defender. So who would you put behind him then?
I play Spence.
So you
Or,
play
or
two.
you could play or you could just play Archie Gray there, and that's it. But I say at the moment that you should be playing Poro more up in further forward in the final third.
But this
Right?
is based off of one game. This is
No,
based
I'm
off
not
of one
based. No,
game.
it's not based on one
So
game.
you're
I've been saying
thinking
this
that.
for a long
So
time now.
okay. So basically, then you don't like Johnson. You don't think he's good enough. So then where
No,
do you put
I don't
Brendan
think Johnson.
Johnson?
No, I don't think
So
Johnson's good enough. I
so
don't
where do you
think.
put him then? You put him on the
So
bench,
you play Porro over Johnson, right wing.
Yeah.
right? So you'd play a defender over a right wing rather than an attacker over a right wing,
Well, no, because I think Poro is a better cross of the ball. He's proved
right?
it.
But he can cross the ball from where he plays. He
But yeah,
doesn't have to hit the
but he
byline.
doesn't need to worry about his defending though. That's the point.
But every player has to run a bit defending because they have to get back and defend.
Well, he doesn't. It's not that much of a responsibility though. That's the point I'm making.
But it is a responsibility
Because
because every
he can
player at that
press and he
side
can
has
do
to
that as
defend.
well.
So
And
he
then
has to do both.
you could either play if you don't trust Madison there what was it Werner, I was either play Madison on the left or or well, I mean, at the moment, I think you only got you play Mikey Moore there, or play Madison on the left, and that's it. And then you've got somebody in the midfield. Maybe you would try Berval, but unfortunately, he hasn't got that much confidence at the moment. That's the only problem at the moment. So, but I mean, for me, that's I would do that. Try that. That's what I would say. I'll definitely have Paul more further forward,
But what
110%.
if? Right. So what happens if Angie does that and Pearl has a poor game? Do you say put him on the bench? He's not good enough, or play him as a striker?
I play Johnson as a striker.
Play who?
I play Johnson as a striker.
What would
So
you
where do you
put
put
him
Solanke?
over Solanke? Would you put Johnson
So
over?
where do you put
Well, no,
Solanke?
To be honest, with you, I think this team looks more for me as a three at the back, five in midfield, and
The Conte tactic.
two
Conte
two things.
formation.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, it does fit that.
It
That
doesn't
the
work.
sort of
It doesn't work.
it
The
does.
three at the back doesn't work.
We've got defenders.
Name one team in the Premiership that plays three at the back at the moment.
Well,
Probably
no, but that's not the point
Brentford.
I'm making, though, Orion. The point is
No,
that
that the
it
point
adapts to
is
this system.
no, it doesn't. It's your system. It
Well,
doesn't
no,
work.
but it
Conte
adapts to
played
these
three at the
players
back.
that are playing at the moment. Three at the
It
back
do,
would
no,
suit
three at
this
the back
team.
does not work in the Premiership. Nobody plays
Well,
three
it
at the
would
back.
suit this team. That's the point.
It doesn't work. It doesn't matter what team they have or what
Because
players
we've
they
got
have.
three defenders.
It
Romero's played in
doesn't work in the Premiership.
Romero can play in the three in the back, so he can just wander off.
It doesn't work in the Premiership. You saw
I
that
don't
when
agree.
Conte played it. Name one other team. I'll give you time to go and Google it. Name one team in the Premiership today that plays three at the back.
I don't know, but I'm saying at the
Exactly.
moment.
No team plays three at the back.
My point is,
Brentford.
but my point.
Who, Brentford?
Brentford, yeah.
They play three at the back all the time, or is that just against Spurs?
Yeah, they change. They jump in and jump out between the two systems. Sometimes they play
Okay.
for the back.
And I think I've got to listen. I love you, Orion, yeah, because you've been good. You were very good to me before, yeah, and you've done a good big favor to me one time, yeah. So, but big up to you. But the point is, yeah, I disagree with that. I'm very harsh with the players. I'm very fair with the players, actually. To be fair, right? I'm not. I just don't go over the top with what I say. Yeah, I actually was going to say in that first half, that was a very good first half because we had a lot of movement. But I'm always on guard with Tottenham because I've seen this before. I always say it, right? I don't override plays because I want to see it 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years before I can start saying this player is very, very good, and that's it for me. And for me, yes, some of them look good in the 5 games, yes, but you have to take into consideration the teams. They also got this problem of mentality for me, and I think that's with Kulusevski, Bentancur, most of that squad at the moment. I think there's young players there that I mean, I'm sorry, Archie Gray needs to go on loan. Berval needs to go on loan. Yeah, I'm serious. I'm serious.
They're not there.
You think Archie Gray's ready for this squad right now? Because I don't think he's ready.
For coming in. Yes, he's there to learn, and he's playing in the Europa League. And every match he's playing in the Europa League. Did he watch them against the Europa League? Yes, it might be teams that you think that isn't good enough, but he's getting minutes, and yes, he can play there. He's 18 years old. It's not like he's 16. He's
Well, that's the
growing, and I
problem.
think
That's the
Archie Gray
problem.
can play.
He should maybe gone back on loan to Leeds so he can at least get game time because he needs game time.
So now he needs game time, so he's not good enough. But why can't he get game time at Spurs, which he is getting?
Because
game
he's
time
not
at Spurs.
getting into the squad. He's not even getting into the squad ahead of bloody Sarr.
But Sarr is a great player. He has energy. So you would
That's
swap
what he
Archie?
offers, energy.
Yeah, he offers more. Like, my word, it's like, so Archie Gray is not good enough to get in team, but you'll replace him over Sarr. But like, yeah, it's a case of, and you have to also bear in mind, Archie Gray and Burkeville will get their chances. Why? Because Sarr and Basuma are away to African nations, and Song will be away as well. So that's
going
when
to be
they'll get the game.
interesting because he hasn't played them. He hasn't played them in major games. So that's going to be interesting to see whether he wants to play them.
It's called getting these right. If you look at, I understand that every fan has the right to criticize players, right? I get that. So you look at that and you think, right, Archie Gray, all these young players, if we play them constantly, their body are still growing. What happens if they get a long-term injury and they don't recover or they change? And I actually do believe, like, let's use a player example, Harry Winks. Remember when Harry Winks first came?
Yeah.
The pitch, he was like, he's a Dembele and Modric mixed together. Pochettino even said this. Harry Winks got a really bad ankle injury. And ever since then, he stopped playing to his level. And Pochettino even said, what's wrong with you, Harry? He's like, I'm afraid. And he says, no, you're a football player. You got to do it. You don't want these to happen because Spurs fans are quick to want players to play. Not all football fans, sorry, are quick to want young players to play. But then they get an injury, they don't make it back, and it's a case of you're no good.
Well, that goes back to my point, though, Orion. We put in that position by what we said at the beginning of the season. We said, they're ready, right? We're happy with them.
They're ready to be in the first team squad, they're not. They're ready to be in the first team squad, and they will get their chances.
Well, that's the problem. It's not a problem.
It's your problem.
They put them in that position. You don't need to put them in that position. Don't put them in that position.
What position?
You do is
they're ready for the squad.
You put experienced players, someone who can compete with the likes of Basuma, the likes of Sarr, the likes of Bentancur and Kulusevski, who's in midfield, and Maddison, and then you take them out that limelight, so that pressure is not on them. You see what I'm saying?
They're doing. But that's what they're doing.
They haven't done it because you can see that they don't, because Basuma at the moment and Sarr have been up and down.
What do you mean
They've been up and down?
Their form
have been up and down. So at the end of the day, he can't trust the youngsters. So if he can't trust the youngsters, get players in that can compete with those players, right? So then he can just get them out of the limelight, or put them on loan.
Do you think we should sell Sarr and Basuma?
Well, at the moment, no, I wouldn't say sell them though. But at the moment, I mean, I don't see them as what I don't see what's going on at the moment. I don't trust any of our midfielders at the moment. No, I've said this to you already, Ashmatic. I've said this to you.
But
already.
What don't you trust though? Because Kulusevski is setting up plays. Sarr, I think, has scored in every European League game he started. Brings energy. Bentancur, obviously the second half, but he's slowly improving. So why? What is it that you don't think that? Well, if you're the manager of Spurs, you go in. What would you say to those players?
Can I just say something in the chat? Can we stop having a go at Orion, please? Because Orion is not an Arsenal fan. Yeah.
Right. No. Ignore those people.
Yeah,
those people are just there for
but
trolls.
I'm just saying, because the thing is, because I like Orion. Yeah, we're just having a debate here. So please don't have a go at him, please.
No. That's yeah. Those guys are just
carry on. The debate's going on. I'm still
so. Let's put your perspective. You're the manager. You look at the squad and you look at Basuma and everything. And you're thinking to yourself, right, what would you do? What would you ask them to do more of?
At the moment, I just think it's more characters, really, for me. I don't think they got I don't think there's a lack of composure at the moment. And also, I don't think they. I think they certain players are better in certain positions. So I look at Basuma. I don't see him as a defensive midfielder. I look at him like, if you want to say the number six, because everyone calls it the number six role. Like, I don't see. I think he's more a player that goes up and down the pitch for me. You know what I
Box
mean?
to
I look
box.
at box to box. Yeah, I look at Sarr, same sort of similar player for me. Um, I think Bentancur had something for me, and he does show a little bit, but he's not consistent enough. He's not consistent enough. I do agree with, and I've said this before to you, Asmat. I've said this on your show before. I said the Madison and Kulusevski thing, it does work. It does work. You know what I mean? Because it's got Madison up the pitch. Because you saw that in the first half against Brighton and Manchester United. He was more further up the pitch and trying to get more goals, wasn't he? Being more effective, and he was very effective, wasn't he?
Mm.
And I think Kulusevski helps him a lot as well. But I do need. I think if to answer your question, I think I need more composure and more bite in that midfield. I don't think we've
Would
got
you
that.
say? Would you say like Ange is a bit too gun ho for you?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah. I think.
he
I
kind
think.
of
I
leaves
think. I think it's all right
too
to be
much
gun ho.
of
I
the
think it's
defenders exposed because a lot of people say we have good defenders.
yeah,
Oh, at the times, like I mean, this season we have not conceded as many goals, but the types of goals we are conceding, the big chances we are conceding, are similar to the ones of the back end of last season, and that's a concern for a lot of fans. But maybe not set pieces because we have improved in that, but the transitions, and I do understand that big teams that play in this way, like your top teams that do play with possession football, they do concede a lot of counter attacks. They do concede a lot of big chances the same way. But for us, for a lot of Spurs fans, that is a concern that we don't have in-game management and we're not able to adapt to certain nuances where teams do know how to quickly, transition or counterattack on you, and they do have better players. For example, the top 10 teams we might have a bit more problem against because the coaches are a little bit more streetwise, a bit more
yeah.
savvy.
Mm,
But maybe the teams in Europa League and lower league teams in the League Cup and teams in the bottom half of the table, those teams we get away with it because they haven't got the firepower up top to punish us when they do get into those positions. But when you play like a Newcastle, for example, they've got the nous to put us away. And how do we manage those type of situations? Do our heads drop? Where are the leaders?
yeah,
Where, are, where
that's
is
what I'm saying. Yeah.
Madison? Madison, is he go missing all of a sudden when our backs against the wall? But then he comes out on social media and says, "Oh, this isn't good enough." Fans are sick of that. We want to see more action on the pitch, and we want to be able to see our manager say, "All right, cool, it's not quite working here. I'm going to maybe, you know, switch things up and drop a player to kind of deal with this person running in behind us, or deal with the threat with Matoma. Maybe we get two players on Matoma. Maybe we put one player on. I don't know. Just little nuances that we can adapt to and change to in certain in-game scenarios when we haven't got that momentum shift. We haven't got that momentum swing, and the crowd's on our back. Can our players handle it? Can our manager handle it instead of having his hands in his pocket? So maybe that's what box office is saying.
Yeah, I think it's just going back onto what I say there. I mean, it's not even just the defense; it's the attack. I don't see that clinical edge that we haven't had that clinical edge. You see what I'm saying? Because we don't have the players to do that for me. I do look at the Johnsons and yeah, Johnson's been very good, but I still look at it as more purple who actually needs to continue with that. But then you look at Timo Werner and Son at the moment, and Alderweireld as well for me. I just don't think we're good enough in that sense, and I think that's hurting us even more because we're not clinical enough. You know what I mean? Because we don't have those sort of characters that have got the guy that, like I said, I wanted Ivan Toney in my team because I know he went for the money, but I wanted Ivan Toney because he could just shrug his shoulder if he misses a chance, and even the fans have a go at him, so I'll say I'll show you. I'll just show you and score a goal, try and score, or score next week, or score next game, next minute after that, or next minute after that. I think we're missing that sort of thing as well. But in midfield, it's just we're missing that sort of composure and in that just someone that just says put their foot on the ball and say, you know what, the guys, let's just slow it down. Just slow it down. Just pass it about a little bit. do some shit housery. You know what I mean? Cause a little bit of few
So,
fouls.
so
So stop
it
that
sounds like
mentality.
because what you're saying. This is to summarize, and we're going to end the show because we can
Yeah.
go for 2.5 hours. But just to summarize, it sounds like I'll be honest with you, box office. It sounds like you're saying it's a player issue because
Yeah.
more than an Ange issue because you are talking about purple patches here, and you're worried about players not having the kind of monster that kind of they've got a soft underbelly, and it's a mentality thing, and they
It's a
don't.
mentality thing, but it's also the manager's fault as well because he should be spotting this. Listen. He's a great manager, Ange. But if you really are someone that's good, you can spot the right sort of personality as well. You see what I'm saying? I think he's got too many nice guys in that squad that just want to do what he wants, and sometimes you need a little bit of ruffle. You know what I mean? Someone that's just gonna say, you know what I mean, question it a little bit. You know,
A bit like
because
Richarlison.
yeah, well, I wouldn't say with Charleston, he's got the
But
wrong arrogance,
but
but you know,
isn't that up to the players on the pitch to step up?
well,
Because Spurs do have the wee huddles before, and you have Vicario, and I remember Vicario got slated because he had a go at Burville. I
mm,
think Burville misplaced the ball or something, and he had a go at them.
yeah.
So it's like, isn't that to me like shouldn't it be the players like Romero? You might not be able to speak English, but just speak up. I do agree with you. I think the
Yeah,
one thing with Spurs is that they don't have enough shouters or someone who can get really angry to
I think
motivate
Vicario's
the
got it.
players.
I think Vicario's got
Vicario's
it.
got it, yeah, but I'm talking about midfield. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it as outfield player. There isn't. It seems to me like players go quiet and submerge into themselves, and as we saw that against Brighton. I think yes, Angie. I did say at the start it was 50-50 because I think Angie should have made changes, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I do think Spurs. Roy Keane always said it. They're too nice sometimes, and the players are too nice,
I
and
think
it
they're way too nice. I think
and it
they're
just
way
needed
too
to
nice.
step up. But then again, it's finding a player like that, and I think like you know for 2 hours in the stream, I just think that like yes, it was a loss, and it's onwards we go. Like basically next weekend we'll see what happens, and this is a wake up call because this time last season we were thinking Spurs were like I think still unbeaten, weren't they? Sitting on top, playing great football, and I think if we'd had this season last season, maybe we going you need to give them time and stuff. Um,
But
but yeah, look, the way Spurs are playing, it's great to watch. It's fun to watch. There will be games like these, and yeah, like as a football fan as well as a Spurs fan, it's shocking to watch. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you're true Spurs fans would have got really pissed off and angry with what they were watching. But hey, listen, Brighton played a good game. They nullified Spurs. They did the job. And as I said, it just looked like the moment Romero faded, that's when the whole team faded. And I've noticed that as well. It's when one player starts to fade, even in the old systems, it's one. All it takes in any system is one player to fade, and it just be a train reaction for all the players. And I think, like watching the Brighton game, that's what kind of happened. I think Kuleveski was the only one who kept trying, like you pointed out, that he, had that cross that just barely missed Solanke. Um, but yeah, like hopefully in the future Spurs can get in a player that is a leader who can talk. But then again, looking through the Premiership, there isn't, like you were saying, Ash, there isn't really guys who would do that, like a Roy Keane, or any of the captains we're used to shouting at the players and getting. It doesn't seem to happen anymore.
I
It's really
just,
weird. Maybe it's a sensitivity. Maybe players will start crying or something.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
I'm struggling. Apart from, like I said, like Odegaard's not really that guy. I'm just trying to.
no,
I'm thinking about captains now.
yeah,
Say Rodri. Rodri's Man City's captain. Would you say he's a person that shouts at his?
no, but
no, you never.
I think he's just got that authority about him. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I think
He's
he's just
just a
got that.
good player.
I
He's just
think,
a good player
I think he's.
that you can rely on. He doesn't lose the ball, and
I
he's
think,
a player that is exceptional in terms of attack and defense and positional, nowhere to be in.
but he
And
grew into that role though, Asmatic. I think
yeah,
he grew into
no,
that
I hear
role, and
that, but I'm saying compared to like, Because when we say leaders, what does that mean? Like, do you know what I mean? In modern day football, this is what I'm trying to get at.
Well, at the moment, we've got no leaders.
I'm looking at no, but I'm comparing it to like all right,
Yeah,
cool.
the
Liverpool.
thing,
Let's look at Liverpool, right? Van Dijk probably is the closest thing to what we're talking about in terms of someone that's going to shout, organize, get these players up, and make a difference on the pitch. Do you know what I'm saying? I think Virgil van Dijk's the only player I can see in that top 4, top 6 that's got a mouth in him is going to do something. The other teams don't have that, and they're doing okay. So I just
like I
think
said,
it's a
yeah,
case of if you're performing like I don't think we'd be having this conversation if we had equalized or if we had beaten Brighton. This conversation would have gone completely different, in my opinion.
mhm,
I don't know, but I think it's a mixture of both, and I do think it was tactical tweaks from Brighton, and I give the youngster, the 31-year-old, I give him props. Do you know what I'm saying? Making their fullbacks push up higher the pitch, making Welbeck and Ruta drop off the 2 centre backs, playing with a former Toma going outside inside, and Minte doing what he did, causing us a lot of problems. I think tactically they got it, and then our defense didn't know when to step up. Do you know what I mean? And because we didn't press as a unit like we were in the first half, Solanke wasn't pressing the same way. Our midfield wasn't pressing the same way. Normally we play with a 4-4-2 and we're pressing aggressively, or 4-1-4-1. And that wasn't really, we weren't pressing as a 5 as aggressively in that first half, allowing them to get on the ball. And they were playing out from the back beautifully. So hats off to Brighton on that one. Do you know what I mean? Is
yeah.
it a cause of concern? Yes, I would say so, because I think we need to address that, because that could happen again for other teams. So, but that's just my final thought on it. Like, again, for Spurs, like, who knows what's going to happen? I expect us to beat West Ham, but I'll save that for another stream, guys. Do you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah,
Because we'll be here all night. But
yeah. That's it. Yeah, we gotta go. That's only been on for an hour, but
yeah, exactly. Box office, you got any final words before I end up?
Listen, it was a good debate. I really enjoyed that. It's just it's you know, for me, like, I still go what I say. I still don't. I'm still not Ange. I'm still Ange out, because I'm not. I was never in the first place, because I need to see. And it's not even just that. It's the whole club. They need to show me, right, what this is all about. Yeah, what is the expectation? Where are we going with this? You see what I'm saying? Because I've seen this before. You know, I saw. I still think there's something missing. Like, even though I saw a lot there was a lot that I saw on Sunday that was positive. I would say that, because there was a lot of good movement. The 2 goals were very good, especially the second goal was really, really good from us. Very good from us. But then I think the second half is what I've seen the last past how many years, and especially last year as well, because we were very up and down as well. We were a momentum team, and for me, I don't think he's helped with the signings. What he's saying, I've kind of ignored him now, because I just think he does talk a load of rubbish. He talks too much, so I've just kind of zoned out from it. But yeah, it's just, I do feel that I just need to see it now. You know what I mean?
see,
And
try and answer this as quickly as possible. See what? Because
we'll see.
nothing. Because it seems that nothing Angie does is going to be good enough for you. So what do you need to see?
Well, I need to see how, whether this is going to be long term or not. And at the moment, I don't see it.
Right,
I'm not convinced. I still say,
but
stick by
you,
what I say. He's going
yeah,
to be gone by the end of the season. He's going to get
yeah,
fed
but
up.
you're saying that you want Angie out because you're saying he's not good enough. Is that it,
Well,
or
it's a number of things. It's just really whether they can convince me that this is going to be, whether
who
they're
can
going to stick
convince
with,
you?
whether the board are going to stick with
I
him
know,
when the fans turn.
but
I don't know
but
who you'll
it's
do that. That's
but
the
what
ultimate
you're
thing.
saying is really weird because you're saying you don't think Angie's good enough and you're Angie out, but then you're wanting. So if the board doesn't sack Angie this season, then you'll be on board with Angie.
Kind of, yeah. Because if the fans turn on him and stick with him like Arteta, it's like,
Right.
for me that does show me that they stick with him. Yeah. So I
So
mean,
even if
kind of.
Angie finishes 10th, wins nothing, and the board keeps him, you'll still be on board with him.
Well, it shows me that they still stick with him, isn't it? That's
So who are
kind of
you
a
talking
moment.
about here? Are you talking about Angie or are you talking about the board?
Well, both, innit? Really? Well, board, yeah, but mainly.
Right, yeah, okay. Let's leave it at that. Because I understand where this is going.
No, but I don't want to get too much into that because
No, yeah, exactly. Just leave it at that. Yeah,
you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying,
itching.
innit?
It's itching. It's itching. It's always there. I've seen in the comments hashtag. Yeah, it's itching.
Because that's a boring sort of subject, isn't it? Now,
It
isn't
is
it?
boring.
But
Yeah,
no respect to people that like it, you know, and you know what. But you know, saying, but it's I do feel that I'm not really too excited about the football still. I know people say, but there's no one that really gets me off my seat. The only one that really gets me off my seat is Van der Ven when he goes on does those long busting runs. But he's a defender.
yeah.
He's a defender. I don't see anybody. You know what I mean? And the thing is though, when you've got Solanke, what he does, right, holding up the ball, which he does do very well. He does do very well. You need some of the wingers that are actually going to, like the Liverpool wingers that have got right now, scoring goals and just doing something about it.
I would pay for you to get manager lessons. I would really like to see in charge of a team. That expectations, my word, my word, it would be set so high.
It's not. But
To back Alex, basically, he wants to see a ruthless forward, someone that bangs goals. You know, like you look at Liverpool's front line and you're like,
No, I get that. I get what he wants. Yeah, I get what he wants.
Like,
Yeah.
or if we're not going to do that, at least like entertain him in terms of like a winger that's tricky, dubs a man, two-step pose, drop a shoulder, do a little flip flap. You know what I mean? Flary,
like Semedo,
flary kind of player where
Semedo.
like, wow, at least all right, we got beat, but at least like we did it in style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think most fans want that. I think most fans,
Yeah.
and I think that's why they're buying into Ange Ball a bit more and giving it more time than maybe a Jose or Conte Ball, because at least he's trying to win attacking. He's not trying to like curl up in the ball and say, you know, we won, but you know, we stunk out the joint. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I think he wants it, but whether he gets those type of players that Alex wants to be ultimately attained, only time will tell. But we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait till next summer and see. Because I don't know. I'm not going into this conversation. I'm ending the show now. I'm ending it. I promise.
Yeah.
But you just look at the signs, and I don't know. Maybe by us lowering the wage bracket, I don't know if you realize this, but our wage bracket is being lowered significantly. The amount of players we've shipped out, over 10 players, it's a lot. I'm thinking, is a takeover on the cusp? Like, I know lots of people don't believe in it, but I'm just thinking there's a lot of signs to say, this is what you do before a takeover. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's other things that I haven't brought up, but I'm thinking, and I'm not saying Levy's gonna go, but I'm just throwing it out there. But anyway, guys, it's been a big show. For another time, we're gonna debate more things. Thanks for coming on, Oren. Long time no see as well.
Yeah. I'll be on more.
We're gonna be on more.
Stuff,
right, cool.
Yeah.
No more. Box office. Have you got anything to plug before I shut it down?
Yeah, you see, just subscribe to Mr. Box Office TV. Because you know where it is, because it's the badass. I'm a badass of YouTube, like they say. The haters hate me, but the lovers love me. You know what I mean? I'm still single, and that's it. You know what I mean? And that's all I need to say. And that's it. You know, because you like that. You know they like that music when you know that tune when Mr. Box Office talks on the mic, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And that's all I need to say. And to everyone in the chat, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you
Big
very
up
much.
to you. Yeah. Ben in the chat, by the way. Ben, you know who I'm talking about from We Are Tottenham TV, yeah? Yeah. You know what John said to you this earlier today on the panel show.
Later.
The panel show, yeah?
No, I call it LL Office, man. LL Box Office. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, big up, love for the chat. Big up everyone in the chat that got involved today, man. Obviously, we're on a national break. Please make sure you like, share, subscribe on the way out. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.